A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
There she is. That's Molly Goldberg, folks. A woman with a place in every heart and a finger in every pie. And now the makers of New Does. That new kind of soap for everything right down your wash line bring you another visit with those good folks, the Goldbergs.
Quiet, please, girls. Quiet. Today we begin our special Wash Day School for Brides, conducted by Professor Doug. Thank you, ladies. Thank you. Now, first I'm going to ask some of you brides to step up to the microphone here and tell me just what are your biggest wash day problems. Okay, who's first?
Professor.
Yes?
I have a terrible time with my husband's work shirts. I just scrub and scrub.
Well, we'll take care of that.
Well, Professor, my problem is getting my towels white enough to satisfy my mother-in-law.
Towels, eh? Next.
I just can't find a wash day soap that's really safe for my pretty rayon.
Problem number 3, rayons. Well, girls, you certainly brought your wash day troubles to the right place. Because here's how to solve all 3 of those problems with just one soap.
What? One soap for everything?
Yes, does. Procter & Gamble's new kind of granulated soap, and it does everything. All 3 kinds of wash. Work shirts, towels, to pretty rayon slips.
But, Professor, my mother always warned me that granulated wash day soaps were too hard on those nice colors.
Well, does is different. It's far safer for those precious colors than any of the 4 other leading granulated soaps. And you know you need this extra color care in wartime when you want those clothes to last longer.
But will Doug get my towels white? They have to suit my mother-in-law, remember?
They will. Why, she's never seen whiter washes than Does does. In fact, it can't be beat by any other soap for getting clothes dazzling white.
Don't forget me and my work shirt.
Don't you worry. Does will get them really clean without any hard scrubbing. Why, no soap made gets clothes clean easier than Does.
Say, if Does can do all that, I'm going to try it.
Me too.
Professor, you're wonderful.
No, it's not me. It's Does. Just try it. Ask for D-U-Z, Does, today. And next wash day, let Does do everything. And now, the Goldbergs. Well, Molly Goldberg has been planning a marriage for Emma, the girl whom she's befriended. It was with Emma's happiness in mind that Molly arranged for her to meet a neighbor, Bruce Hanley. And Emma went riding with Bruce in the moonlight. So Molly would have been completely happy if she hadn't begun to suspect that all her efforts may very well be wasted, since there are signs that Mikey Broom likes Emma. But Molly treats this a little lightly, for she doesn't know that the truth lies closer to home, and that it isn't Sammy's friend, but Sammy who is involved. And so now, with Emma home and Sammy waiting downstairs for her, Molly speaks with Rosie.
So go into your room, Rosie, darling. Go, darling.
Did you speak to Emma yet, Ma?
No, darling. She just came in. She's taking a glass of milk downstairs. Mikey went to bed already, Rosalie. Mikey's in his room, dear.
I don't know, and I don't care, Ma. I really don't. If he likes Emma, then
Rosalie,
it's all right, Ma. I just wish he'd tell me instead of avoiding me.
Maybe you're only imagining, Rosalie, darling. Maybe you're only imagining. It's possible. Maybe, Rosalie, it's all because you're acting and you're thinking and you're...
No, it isn't, Ma.
I'm sure, darling. I'm sure, Rosalie, darling, that Emma don't even for one syllable think that Mikey is thinking of her or whatever, which because you know, Rosalie, darling, that Mama would see everything that was to be seen. You know that. And I didn't see from Emma not one syllable, darling, not one syllable that should be which or what. So it's not absolutely. Maybe Mikey's the side.
Don't make excuses for him, Ma. I'm old enough to understand these things. He's attracted. He can't help it.
Is this house going to go to bed or not tonight?
We are, Jack, darling. Come on, come boys and get Rosalie a minute.
It's nearly morning. Must be walking up and down in the hall up here.
Emma is home.
So she's home?
I just wanted to say
So she'll tell you in the morning how much she likes Bruce Henley. You must get the hall report tonight.
I just want to say
Good night.
Good night. Rosalie, darling, go to bed. Go, darling. Good night, Mama. Go.
Good night.
Good night, dear. Good night.
Who else is downstairs?
Family, I think.
What is Sammy doing downstairs? Why don't he go to bed?
Well, Emma is coming upstairs, Jay. Close the door. Look how you're standing in your pajamas. Emma, please. Emma's, I'm sure, coming up the hall. I'm here in the hall, Emma. I'm here in the hall, dear.
Good night.
Good night. Close the door. Emma? Emma, dear? We was waiting up. We was waiting up. We was prolonging our expiring, waiting for you, Emma, dear. So where did you went?
Just riding.
Riding? All the time since you left the house you was riding?
Yes.
You didn't even stop off for an ice cream soda?
Oh, yes. We stopped for ice cream.
Yeah?
And we drove along, and he showed me all his land and the house and the barns.
Beautiful land and beautiful barns, Bruce Henley has. I know that. He showed you everything, huh?
Yes.
And what else?
He liked me, I think.
Why do you think?
Well,
did he said something?
Well, he said that he was very disappointed when I didn't go to the hayride with him.
So did you tell him Sammy took you only because I asked Sammy to?
Yes.
And?
Your friend Birdie has been talking again.
Talking? What could Birdie talk?
Oh, many things. And Bruce Henley asked me whether they were true.
About the what, Emma?
Whether I was in love with somebody else.
I would like very much to sleep tonight, if nobody has any objections.
Oh, yes.
I'll tell you everything in the morning.
It's all nonsense, Emma. It's all nonsense and nonsensical what Birdie says.
I'll tell you in the morning.
All right. And then, Birdie, I'll go over directly in the morning. I'll go over to Birdie, and then I'll ask her directly what she's talking. Good night, Emma, darling.
Good night.
Good night. You're going into your room, Emma?
I just want to go downstairs to fetch something.
Well, can I get it for you?
No, I'll get it.
Is Family downstairs?
I think so.
I'll go downstairs.
I'll go.
What is this?
All right, Emma. Whatever it is, you get it. Yes, dear? Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Emma? Where are you going, Em?
I have to get something.
What is it? I'll get it.
Don't trouble.
Why don't you go to bed, Emma? I'll go down and tell Sammy we'll see him tomorrow. Huh?
You'd like to spoil everything. Don't you, Mikey?
How's Bruce Henley, Emma?
You'd like to know so you could tell Sammy.
No, you'll tell Sammy.
Well, then why do you want to know?
You don't think I'm interested?
Why?
You think Sammy is the only one who cares whether you marry Bruce Henley?
You care?
You'd be surprised how much.
And Rosie?
Rosie's a kid.
And me?
You're a woman.
And Sammy?
Sammy's a kid, too. He's even afraid to tell his mother about you and him.
And you?
I'm a man, Emma.
It's Rosie.
Rosie?
Yes.
Why aren't you asleep, Rosie? You know, you should get at least 9 hours of sleep at your age.
I'm sorry, Rosie.
It's all right.
Everybody's so anxious to know how much I like Bruce Henley.
Yes, I know. Mikey especially. Good night.
Yeah, it's the truth.
Let me go.
Emma.
Henry's waiting for me.
Wait, Emma.
I promised to take a walk with him.
I'll tell him you were too tired.
No.
How far do you think you'll get with Sammy, Emma?
Please.
He's tied to his mother's apron strings. It's kid stuff. It's not for you and it's not for me.
I love Sammy.
You'd love a man who could love you, not a kid afraid of his mother and his father and everybody. Sneaking away behind doors and up into orchards, afraid of what he'd feel.
I love Sammy.
Emma.
You can't fool me, Mikey.
Emma, do you think I'm fooling? Do you think I'd be standing here like...
Stop it. Stop it. I'll call everybody.
Why do I care? They all think I'm in love with you anyway. You may as well be sure.
Let me alone.
Why do you keep saying let me alone? Every move you make says don't.
Sammy's coming.
All right, then go into your room.
Why don't you let me alone?
Because you don't want me to. Now go ahead. Go into your room.
Where's Emma?
She went to bed.
Good night.
Good night.
Mikey's plan isn't taking anyone in except the innocent bystanders. Rosie, the girl whom Mikey loves, and the Goldbergs, whom he's trying to protect. Will this rather quixotic plan of his save Sammy from Emma? Now I ask you, can you see yourself washing dishes with half a dishpan? Well, you know, that's about as useless as struggling with a soap that only does a halfway job for dishes. I mean bar soaps because they don't have real speed, and those tough granulated soaps because they fall short on safety for your hands. Well, you can say goodbye to such halfway soaps right now and change to new Does. Yes, that new kind of granulated soap for everything in your wash. And believe me, Does has everything for dishes, too. From whirlwind speed to extra gentleness for your hands. Notice how soft and smooth your hands feel after doing dishes with Does. Why, Does is far kinder to your hands than any of the 4 other leading granulated soaps. Yet Does speeds through dishes like a whirlwind. There's no hard scouring, not even to cut tough grease. Yes, Does really has everything for dishes. Try it, and let those whirlwind suds tell you how different Does is. Be sure to listen to the next episode of The Goldbergs, written for you by Gertrude Berg. Molly Goldberg becomes more and more convinced that Mikey is in love with Emma, and Sammy becomes more and more convinced that Mikey is acting the part of a hero. But as we see tomorrow, Emma seems to be able to find a middle way in which she can eat her cake and have it, too. This is Clayton Collier wishing you good day for Procter & Gamble, makers of Does, the new kind of granulated soap for all 3 kinds of wash.
The story you are about to hear is true. Only the names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all long cigarettes, brings you Dragnet.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to homicide detail. An elderly man reports the sudden death of his wife. He claims he awoke in the morning to find her dead on the floor of their bedroom. The cause of death is not apparent. Your job? Investigate. In Fatima, the difference is quality.
Yes, in Fatima, the difference is quality.
Quality of tobaccos. The finest domestic and Turkish varieties, extra mild. Superbly blended to give you Fatima's much different, much better flavor and aroma.
Quality of manufacture. Smooth, round, perfect Fatima cigarettes. Rolled in the finest paper money can buy. Manufactured in the newest and most modern of all cigarette factories.
Quality. Even to the appearance of the bright, clean, golden yellow Fatima package.
So compare Fatima yourself today.
You'll find Fatima gives you all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has.
Yes, light up a Fatima. Your first puff will tell you...
Ah, that's different.
Because in Fatima, the difference is quality.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Friday, November 12th. It was cold in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of homicide detail. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Thad Brown, chief of detectives. My name's Friday. It was 9:38 a.m. when I got back to the first floor of the Blackwell Hotel. Room 7.
Oh, hi, Joe. Come on.
Yeah. How's the old fella doing? He tell you anything?
Hasn't talked at all. He's pretty broken up. The woman's dead. That's about it. Now, how about the bruise on her forehead? Do you think that could have been it?
No, it was just a slight bruise. I don't think that could have killed her.
They moved the body out of the room yet?
Yeah, they just did. Taking it downtown for the autopsy. Well, I guess we can take the old man back to his own room now, huh?
Yeah, I think so. He's back here in the kitchen there. Fixed him a cup of coffee. Still feeling pretty bad. Mr. Turner, would you like to go back to your room now? Everything's been fixed up. Mr. Turner?
What happened? You can tell me. What happened to Gertrude?
I'm afraid we don't know, Mr. Turner. Not yet.
I told you about it, didn't I? Woke up this morning about 8 o'clock. Put my arm over on the pillow and she wasn't there. And I got up and I saw her laying on the floor. My wife, Gertrude. I felt her arm. She was cold. Ice cold. Somebody ought to know what happened.
Well, we'll let you know just as soon as we get the coroner's report, sir. Would you like to go back to your own room now?
What's coroner have to do with it?
Well, he's going to have to perform an autopsy. We'll have the report for you tomorrow morning.
I don't want him to do that to Gertrude. I don't want him to.
I'm sorry, sir. I'm afraid it's necessary. Deaths of this kind, there was no doctor in attendance, nobody to sign the death certificate.
There's nothing I can do, nothing to help her.
I'm sorry, Mr. Turner.
Can we help you back to your room, sir?
Is she still there?
No, sir. They've taken her body downtown. Can I give you a hand there?
Thank you. All right.
I'll get the door.
Where'd Mr. Parkson go?
Who's that, sir?
The hotel manager, Mr. Parkson.
Oh, yeah.
These are his rooms here. I wanted to tell him thank you for letting me stay down here a while.
Well, I think he'll be back in a few minutes. He was busy outside.
Nice of him. Let me use his place. I couldn't stay in our room. Not the way it was. Gertrude wasn't there.
It's all right now, Mr. Turner. Can you make the stairs all right?
Yes, sir, thank you. I'm just a little tired, that's all. Guess the whole thing's been too much for me.
Maybe you'd like to have us call your family doctor.
No, we don't have a family doctor. I'll be all right after a spell. It's just hard to understand, that's all. I have to think about it a while. Sit down and think about it.
Yes, sir. Here we are. I'll get the door. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah.
Right there on the floor, officer. It's where I found her when I woke up. Right there by the bed.
Mm-hmm.
Where have they taken her?
Downtown, Mr. Turner, to the county morgue.
Oh. They'll let me see her, won't they?
Yes, sir, they will. Do you feel up to answering a few questions for us now?
All right. I'll tell you everything I know about it. I don't see how it's going to help anything.
We'll try to make it as brief as possible, sir. Now, your wife's full name is Gertrude Agnes Turner, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Her age?
Let's see, Gertrude, 63. Yeah, that's it. I'm 4 years older than her. That's how I always tell.
Was your wife in good health, Mr. Turner? Under a doctor's care or anything like that?
No. Nothing wrong with her I know of.
Heart trouble? Anything like that?
No, sir. She used to have headaches every now and then. A doctor friend of ours back home used to send pills for her to take. That's about all.
How was your wife feeling last night? Was she all right then?
Just fine. When I woke up, I put my arm over on her pillow. She wasn't there. Then I got up and saw her laying on the floor, right by the bed. Gertrude. She was ice cold. There was a little bruise up here on her forehead. I thought I was dreaming. She was dead. We weren't even married a year.
Do you want to go on, sir? You think you feel all right?
It's all right, officer. I got a little bit of brandy in that cupboard over there. Think I could use some if you two officers don't mind?
That's perfectly all right, sir.
Yeah, I'll get it, Mr. Turner.
We had it all figured out Tuesday, November 16th. That's her name's day.
How's that, sir?
November 16th. It's my wife's name's day. You see, Gertrude's a German girl. A lot of German people don't celebrate their birthday. They celebrate their name's day instead. Next Tuesday's St. Gertrude's Day.
Oh, I see.
There you are, Mr. Turner.
Thank you. Either one of you officers care for some brandy? You're certainly welcome to it.
No, thank you very much.
Do you or your wife have many friends in town, Mr. Turner?
No, just a few. Around the hotel here. Gertrude and I have only been in California a few months. Come out from Indiana, Fort Wayne.
Yes, sir. No relatives here?
No, sir. Wife only had one relative living, sister. She's back in Indiana.
How did you and your wife get along, all right?
Oh, fine. We never had any trouble. I loved her, officer.
Did your wife have any enemies that you know of, sir? People she didn't get along with? Somebody who might have wanted to hurt her?
Oh, I can't think of anyone.
Well, how about some of the men your wife knew before she married you, Mr. Turner? Any bad feelings one of them might have had toward your wife?
No, sir, not that I know of. Besides, all our old friends are still back there in Indiana.
Mm-hmm. You say your marriage was working out pretty well. Your wife didn't have any gentleman friends that she might have been interested in?
No, sir, I know that for the truth. Gertrude spent her time at home. She didn't run around. She was a good wife.
Mm-hmm. Would you know if your wife had any reason at all to take her own life, maybe?
Well, that's the last thing in the world Gertrude to do. No reason for it. We had too many things to look forward to. Oh, lots of things. You don't stop living just because you pass 65.
Yes, sir.
Tell me the truth, officer. Don't you really know what happened to her?
No, sir, no more than you do. Afraid we'll have to wait for that coroner's report.
I don't understand it, officer. How am I supposed to understand it?
Sir?
I went to bed last night and I had a wife.
Yes, sir.
Today's my day off. We're going to take a car ride down the beach. That's the dress she was going to wear hanging up there. Gertrude made it herself. She was going to wear it today.
I'll try to take it easy, Mr. Turner.
I beg your pardon. She's all I had. Why should she have to die? She didn't have to die, did she?
I don't know, sir. Maybe she didn't have a choice. The body of the dead woman, Mrs. Gertrude Agnes Turner, was removed to the county morgue for autopsy. Ben and I filled out the 311 form, the dead body report, and filed it pending the outcome of the autopsy. A couple of Mr. Turner's friends who lived upstairs from him at the Blackwell Hotel agreed to look after the old man until he got over the shock of his wife's sudden death. 7:45 the next morning, I checked in for work as usual.
Morning, Joe.
Morning. What do you know?
Not much. Pretty slow.
How about the Turner woman? No word on the autopsy, huh?
No, coroner hasn't called yet. Have you got any smokes? I left the house in a hurry this morning. Forgot everything.
Yeah. Right here.
Oh, thanks.
Here.
Thanks. Lousy morning. Another row with the wife.
Oh? What's the matter?
Oh, another one of those church bazaars she got herself mixed up in. She's calling on me for help again.
Oh, yeah? What she wants you to do now?
You remember the last time, don't you? That spring bazaar? Had me working on declarations down to church 7 nights a week. 18 women running around telling you what to do.
Yeah.
It's like a madhouse, Joe. This time it's even worse.
How do you mean?
This time the ladies figure they ought to have a little more production. They want me to dress up in some kind of a funny costume. Auction off pies and cake. You know, stovepipe hat, false mustache will work.
No. You turned them down, huh? You won't do it, will you?
Well, not exactly. Wife kicked up such a row, I guess I'll end up doing it. Got an idea, though.
Uh-huh.
Wouldn't be so bad if I had somebody to work with me. You wouldn't like to help me out, would you, Joe?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm going to be a little busy, Ben, but if I get a chance, I'll drop out to see you, though. I get it.
Yeah.
Homicide Friday. Oh, yeah. How's that? All right. Yeah. Okay, we'll be right over. Was Doc Cephalou over at the morgue about Miss Turner?
Got the autopsy report for us?
Yeah, they won't sign the death certificate.
What's the trouble?
A couple of things. Looks too suspicious for him, they said.
How'd they list the cause of death?
She suffocated. 8:15 a.m. We went across the street and talked with Dr. Cephalou. All he could tell us was that Gertrude Turner had suffered severe convulsions and that she'd died of suffocation. There was a small bruise in her forehead and numerous other small bruises around the base of the throat. Not enough to say that the woman had been murdered, and yet too much to dismiss the case as an accidental death. Together with Lorman and Barrett from Homicide, Ben and I looked up some of the friends of Mr. and Mrs. Turner. We found 2 points which didn't check out with the story that Mr. Turner had told us. According to the friends, Turner had had some violent arguments with his wife. On at least one occasion, he'd struck her. And secondly, the dead woman did have a gentleman friend in the neighborhood, but his conduct with her had been above question. It was strictly friendship. We decided to take it from there. We went back to the Blackwell Hotel and found Mr. Turner in his room. He was wrapping up some of his wife's personal effects and packing them in corrugated boxes. We told him about the coroner's report.
I don't think I believe that, Sergeant. People just don't suffocate. There's got to be a reason for it.
Yes, sir. That's what we're looking for.
Well, don't they know? Can't they tell you how it happened to the doctors?
Well, she had severe convulsions. She suffocated. That's just all they could tell us.
With a bruise on her head, Gertrude's forehead. What'd they say about that?
Well, that wasn't the cause of death, Mr. Turner. She could have gotten a bump when she fell out of bed. It might have been that. It might not.
I just don't understand. You'd think there'd be some way of telling.
Well, we were around talking to some of your friends in the neighborhood this morning, friends of you and your wife.
Yeah. Oh, they've been real friends, officers. Every one of them. Been up to see me, brought me meals and things. Say, isn't that a pretty thing? Just look at that.
Yes, sir.
Real bone china. The cup and the saucer. Gertrude used to collect them. Had all kinds. Pretty.
Yes, sir. When we were talking to you yesterday, sir, you told us that you and your wife got along pretty well. No arguments?
Yes, sir, that's right.
Well, now, some of your friends tell us that you used to argue with your wife quite a bit.
Who told you that?
Some of your friends here in the neighborhood. Is that true?
Well, when we first got married, Gertrude and I guess we had a few spats. No different than other people. Getting used to each other, things like that, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, did you ever strike your wife, Mr. Turner?
Why do you ask that?
Routine question. Did you ever strike your wife, Mr. Turner?
Yes. One of the first arguments we had. I don't even remember what it was about. That's how important it was.
Mm-hmm.
I lost my temper, I guess. I kind of slapped her. Oh, I felt like a no-good bum. Never once happened again. Slapping Gertrude. It's hard to remember it right now.
Well, we asked you the same question yesterday, sir. Couldn't you have told us that then?
Oh, I'm sorry, officer. I guess I missed it. I wasn't feeling too good. I think you know what I mean.
But you remember us asking if your wife had any gentleman friends?
Yes, I remember that.
Well, now, is it true?
Well, there's one fella named Clyde Warren. Runs a drugstore down the street. I guess Gertrude knew him better than anybody, but he was my friend, too.
Well, did you ever complain to this Clyde Warren that he was spending too much time around your wife, that he ought to see less of her?
I think I did maybe once or twice. It was kind of in a fooling way. Certainly didn't mean it. Clyde Warren's one of my best friends.
Well, did you ever complain to your wife that she was seeing too much Warren?
No, sir, never even mentioned it. Why ask me all these things?
Well, your wife's dead, Mr. Turner, and we still haven't found out why.
But you ask me questions like I had something to do with it.
Well, you were the last one to see her alive, sir. You were alone with her in this room the night she died.
You think I killed Gertrude? Is that it? You think I killed my own wife?
No, sir, we didn't say anyone killed her.
You think I killed my own wife? You think I killed her?
Well, did you kill her, Mr. Turner?
You know I didn't kill Gertrude. You know I didn't do that.
I'm sorry, sir. There's not much else we can do now.
What do you mean?
Coroner found a series of bruises on the body, right around here, base of the neck. We know she died of suffocation. The two things seem to fit pretty well.
I don't know what you mean. I didn't see any bruises, not on her neck. I don't know what you mean.
We'll have to take you downtown, sir. You can call your lawyer now if you like.
I don't have a lawyer. Why are you taking me downtown?
No alternative. We're going to have to book you.
How's that?
Suspicion of murder. 10:25 a.m. Before we booked him at the main jail, Mr. Turner asked us if we'd get off a telegram to his sister-in-law, Mrs. Helen Raymond, in Fort Wayne, Indiana, informing her of what had happened. We told him we would, and we did. We booked him in on suspicion of 187 PC, and then we checked back in at the office. We put in a call to the insurance company that held a policy on Mrs. Turner.
Yes, sir. Gertrude Agnes Turner. Mm-hmm. What was that? All right. Right. Thank you, sir. Goodbye.
What'd they have to say?
Mrs. Turner had 3 different policies on her life, total of $5,000. Mr. Turner's a beneficiary on all 3.
Well, that'll do for a motive.
And something else here.
Yeah.
Newest policy is for $1,000, industrial policy.
When was it taken out?
3 weeks ago.
You are in the Scientific Investigation Division of the Metropolitan Police Department, the ballistics room.
You have just heard a test bullet fired from a .38 caliber revolver found in the possession of a suspect.
The test slug is removed from the ballistics box and compared with the slug found at the scene of the crime.
There they are. Side by side, they look alike, but examination will prove a world of difference. You'll find the same is true when you compare king-size cigarettes.
Fatimas are the same length as any other king-size cigarette, 85 millimeters. Fatima has the same circumference, 1 1/64 inches around.
And Fatima filters the smoke exactly the same long distance as other king-size cigarettes.
But in Fatima, the difference is quality.
Fatima gives you extra mildness, a much different, much better flavor and aroma. You get all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has.
So compare Fatima yourself. Your first puff will tell you,
Ah, that's different.
Yes, in Fatima, the difference is quality. Buy Fatima. Best of all long cigarettes.
Monday, November 15th, 10 a.m. The investigation went on. We failed to uncover any additional evidence against the suspect, Mr. Turner. We had 3 main points against the man. The recently issued insurance policy on his wife for $1,000, the fact that he had fought with his wife and struck her on several occasions, and the series of bruises which had been discovered at the base of the dead woman's neck. Well, as it stood, we weren't too sure that the case would hold up in court. Ben was less sure that the old man was actually responsible for the death of his wife. We figured if Turner was guilty, we might try to impress him with the evidence against him and attempt to get a confession. Monday, 1 p.m., we went over to the main jail to interrogate the suspect. You want to step aside there? They want to lock that door.
Oh, yes, sir.
This way, Mr. Turner. I'll get the light switch.
Right in here, Mr. Turner.
Mr. Turner, you'd like to sit down?
All right. Thank you. Why'd you come to see me? Have you found out something?
We've been checking a little bit further into the case, Mr. Turner. We got a few more questions for you, if you don't mind.
Did you send the message to my sister-in-law, Mrs. Raymond, the one I asked you to send?
Yes, sir. We took care of it.
You got the address right, didn't you? Fort Wayne, Indiana?
That's right. Just sent a telegram, told her all about it.
That was 2 days ago. She should have gotten it by now. I haven't heard a word from her. Are you sure she got the telegram all right?
Pretty sure. We'll check on it when we get back to the office. A few things we got here that you might like to know about, sir. Maybe you can help clear them up for us.
What's that, officer?
We understand that your wife, Gertrude, had some insurance on herself. $5,000 worth?
Yes, that's right. Something you want to know about it?
Well, she named you as the beneficiary in each of her policies. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Gertrude was a great believer in insurance. Don't hold with her too much myself. She used to tell me all the time.
Yes, sir?
In case she died first, she wanted me to have a little something for old age. Something to retire on and get a little ranch out in the valley.
I understand she took out a policy just lately, $1,000 about 3 weeks ago.
I know about it. I didn't want her to do it. Clean waste of money, I told her. Payments were pretty steep.
Well, sir, is there anybody who can back that up? That you told your wife you didn't want her to take out that policy?
No, I don't think so. We didn't talk about our business with other people.
Yeah.
Friday, Romero.
Yeah? What is it?
Phone call says it's important. Either one of you.
Do you want to get it, Ben?
You okay?
You can take it out to the desk here.
All right, thanks.
I think I know what you mean. The insurance. You think that's why I killed Gertrude. Isn't that right?
Well, sir, put yourself in our place, Mr. Turner. What would you think?
You know in your heart I didn't kill my wife. You know that in your heart.
Well, they don't pay us for what we believe, Turner. They pay us to get the facts, to run down evidence. Doesn't make any difference what I believe.
But you know I didn't kill her. You know that, don't you?
Well, sir, I know we asked you if you ever argued with your wife, and you told us no. We found out you beat her up a couple of times. We asked you if she was friendly with any of the men in the neighborhood. You told us no. We found one. We asked you about the bruises the coroner found on her neck. You don't know. You can't explain them. We asked you if your wife had been ill, if she had any sickness, to explain her dying the way she did, and you said no. We asked you about the insurance. You can't explain that either. 3 weeks before she dies, she takes out $1,000 on her life. She dies in the same room with you, and you don't know how or why. Now, you tell me, mister, what are we supposed to believe?
I didn't kill her. Somebody has to believe it. Somebody. I didn't kill her.
Joe, see you, man?
Yeah.
That phone call, it was long distance. Turner's sister-in-law, Mrs. Raymond.
What you want?
Calling from Fort Wayne. She's flying out here tonight. Seemed pretty wrought up.
About her sister, huh?
Mostly about Mr. Turner. She claims he's innocent. Seems pretty sure of it.
She can prove that Turner didn't kill his wife?
That's what she said. She's bringing the proof with her.
Tuesday, November 16th. Turner's sister-in-law, Mrs. Raymond, was scheduled to arrive at 6 p.m. by plane from Indiana. At 2 p.m., one of the main points in the case against the suspect was proven false. A woman friend of Mrs. Turner, after reading of the husband's arrest in the paper, informed us that while Mrs. Turner was visiting her home a few days before she died, she complained of a severe headache. The woman's son, who was studying to be a chiropractor, attempted to treat Mrs. Turner's headache by manipulating the muscles in her neck and shoulders. The woman said that Mrs. Turner called the next day and complained about receiving bruises on her neck as a result of her son's experimental treatment. The son came down to the office and signed a full statement to this effect. At 7 p.m., Mr. Turner's sister-in-law arrived. With her was a Dr. John Grant, a Fort Wayne physician. The two of them told us their story and gave us all the information they had concerning the case. Ben and I went immediately to the main jail, picked up Mr. Turner, and brought him back to the office. His sister-in-law and Dr. Grant waited in the adjoining room.
Why'd you bring me here? You going to ask me more questions? I told you everything.
No, sir. No more questions.
You can't take me off to prison. I haven't had a trial yet.
No, sir, you're not going to have a trial, Mr. Turner. We're releasing you.
How's that?
Your sister-in-law, Ms. Raymond, she's in the next room with her doctor. They're going to take you home, sir.
I don't think I understand, officer. How do you mean?
Your sister-in-law just got in from Fort Wayne tonight, and she has her family doctor with her. They told us about your wife, Gertrude. Everything we had to know.
About Gertrude? My wife? Well, what do you mean, officer?
Well, maybe you can understand, sir. Your wife was afraid to let you know. She told her sister she was afraid it might break up her marriage.
Afraid to tell me what?
Well, your wife suffered from epilepsy. She had it most of her life.
She had epilepsy?
Yes, sir, she did. And this Dr. Grant showed us that he's been sending your wife medicine ever since you moved out here to California. He treated her many times for the same thing before you met her. She figured it might ruin her chances of marrying you, so she kept it a secret.
The medicine. I remember that. Used to come through the mail.
And that's it, sir. Accounts for the headache she had the night before she died. She probably had an attack during the night, suffocated. That's how you found her in the morning.
Well, why didn't they know? The coroner, they examined her.
Well, sir, that's just the point. If you die of epilepsy, there's just no way of telling, not even by autopsy. Convulsions and suffocation. That's the only way they can list it.
And she was ashamed. Gertrude. She was afraid to tell me.
Yes, sir, that's what she wrote to your sister-in-law. We saw the letters.
And I can leave now if I want to? Is it all right?
We'll get you things from the property clerk first, and then you can go.
Can I see Helen now, my sister-in-law? I'd like to say hello.
Yes, sir, you can. It's right through that door.
Well, thank you kindly.
It's all right.
Officer.
Yes.
Just one thing I'd like to ask.
Yes.
You knew all the time, didn't you? I mean in your own heart.
How's that?
I couldn't have killed Gertrude. In your own heart, you knew that, didn't you? Officer?
Yes, sir. I know it.
I thought you did. I'll be right back.
Joe?
Huh?
I wouldn't worry about him.
What's that?
We'll call it a white lie.
The story you have just heard was true. Only the names were changed to protect the innocent.
On November 16th, a meeting was held in the office of Blaine Steed, captain of homicide. In a moment, the results of that meeting.
And now here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you. Friends, the makers of Fatima do everything possible to produce the king-size cigarette that you want, just as we on Dragnet try to bring you the kind of entertainment that you want. Well, in our honest opinion, Fatima is the best of all long cigarettes. And I know from reading our Dragnet mail that more and more of you back me up on that. If you haven't tried Fatimas yet, may I suggest you buy a pack? You'll find Fatima gives you all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has. Remember, tomorrow, first chance you get, buy Fatima.
The death of Gertrude Agnes Turner was proved beyond a doubt to be due to natural causes. A 9.10 report was made which completely exonerated the husband of the dead woman. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department.
Stay tuned for Counterspy next over most NBC stations.
My name's Regan. I get 10 a day in expenses from a detective bureau run by a guy named Anthony J. Lyon. They call me the Lion's Eye.
Jack Webb is Jeff Regan, Investigator, as CBS offers you hard-boiled action and mystery and thrilling adventure in tonight's story of The Lawyer and the Lady.
The Cosmopolitan Building is on 7th Street near Olive, downtown L.A. International Detective Bureau is up on the 3rd floor, Suite 308. Right across from an elevator that hasn't been inspected since 29, when the guy who built the place took a vacation up at Folsom. I always use the stairs. Well, the plaster's bad, but the rent's cheap, and the Lion says his office is just the kind of place that invites business. He's got a leather chair there, about the shape of a fallen biscuit. That's for him to relax on. And right next to a desk with some blank checks and an inkwell, there's a hard, straight chair. That's for the client. The Lion got mad when our last customer asked if the chair was wired. Well, when I walked in last Thursday night about 6 o'clock, he was staring at that empty chair. Wishful thinking.
Regan, Christmas is coming.
Well, that's news.
It's the time of year when everybody's nice to everybody else.
Somebody give you a calendar?
I got better than that. It's a check.
From who?
His name's Kramer. He's a big lawyer.
Do we need one again?
He's our new client. He wants to see you.
What about?
He'll tell you.
You tell me.
I want you to be nice to him. He's a big man. His office is in the Park Central building. Abercrombie, Kramer, and Schmidt.
A trio.
It's an important legal firm in this city.
Well, what's the job?
I told you he'd give you all of it.
Look, the last time I waited for a client to talk, he died.
Now, look here. The kind of dough he pays, you could do janitor work for him and not ask questions.
Oh, you never learn.
This is a certified check. Came by special messenger. He's waiting for you now.
What else?
The message said he wanted all this done confidentially. No police. You understand?
You'd kidnap your own mother for cash.
You're not alive.
And then you'd starve to death charging yourself ransom.
I'm going to be patient with you, Regan.
No, this is another rotten deal.
These big legal outfits can't afford to be dishonest.
You've been making a living doing it?
Kramer's in legitimate practice. I checked on
Oh,
him.
sure you
I pay your salary, and I take things as I see them.
Well, you need stronger glasses. Well, I left him sitting there, holding the check up to the light. He had both arms above his head. He reminded me of a two-armed slot machine. I walked the 4 blocks over to the Park Central building, and an elevator operator with a cardboard collar took me up to the 7th floor. Abercrombie, Kramer, and Schmidt had a flock of stables in the back with a fire escape. The names were hung out in silver. I figured if they were ambulance chasers, they used a motorcycle escort. I opened the door and stepped into a green carpet that needed mowing. Then I heard a noise at the deep end where the trout stream should have been. She had hair the color of smoke. The rest of her spiraled up to match. But she looked unhappy, like a termite in a granite quarry. She glanced at her typewriter, and then up at me. The Remington 1.
We've already ordered our Christmas cards. Get them in July.
Well, maybe I'm not selling.
You should. You're the type.
Kramer in?
He might be. But he never sends cards. Doesn't believe in Christmas.
Well, he sent my office a check.
Did he? What office is that?
I'm Regan, International Detective Bureau.
Stick to greeting cards.
Kramer sent for me.
Oh? He wants protection, huh?
You tell me.
Maybe it's something else.
Now, let's find out.
In a minute. He's busy right now.
What's the matter with Abercrombie?
He's dead.
Schmidt?
Wishes he was. Palm Springs with a hangover.
Yeah, real nice bunch. How long you worked for him?
Too long. My jokes are newer.
Well, Benny's making a move. Maybe he'll hire you.
I don't like funny men. What do you do when you're not working?
All depends on who I'm with.
Thought maybe you were antisocial. That's Kramer's.
I was ahead of her trying the door, but it was locked from the inside. She fumbled around on the desk and finally brought out a key. Kramer was sitting at his desk holding onto the front of his shoulder. His face was white and he wasn't feeling too good.
Fire escape. He got through there. And he called Dr. Sorensen. This wouldn't look good in the papers. No police.
That's a big order.
Well, that's a big hole in his shoulder. Well, it was too late to start looking around the fire escape, and when Dr. Sorensen showed up, he called a private ambulance and had Kramer taken to a private hospital. The doc said he wouldn't be able to talk until morning, and, well, if they wanted it quiet, there was no sense getting homicide all excited. Emmy went to the hospital with him, and I hung around the office for a little while. Everything was locked up tight. The files, his desk, and the liquor cabinet. So I figured it was time to give the lion the nod. I doused the lights and went downstairs. Outside, the street was kind of vacant except for a steamroller with whiskers washing down the gutters. It dodged around a big green car parked by the curb, and then it swivel-hipped around my car, where a little guy in a trench coat was leaning in looking at my registration tag. When I tapped him on the shoulder, he looked confused, like he was trying to catch a cyclone on a paper bag.
Huh?
You looking for something?
Oh, no. No, just,
Looking.
Yeah, that's right. Looking.
Come on, blow your nose.
A little cold, that's all.
Tell me about it before your throat gets sore.
I told you, just looking.
The car belongs to the finance company in case you got extra keys.
No, Pilgrim. Never borrowed a buggy in my life.
You can't drive.
How'd you guess?
Come on, you. Let's pour it out.
Sure. You the guy?
What guy?
Guy that says that.
Regan.
I might be.
Don't want to make a mistake.
Deal, will you?
Somebody wants to see you.
Who?
Guy.
Well, I don't know him.
Yeah. Guy says please.
Reads Emily Post.
That's right. Friend of mine. Weighs 285 pounds. He's across the street in the ice cream parlor. Last stool on the end.
Well, I'll tell you, somebody else is carrying my books home today.
Oh, he wouldn't care. Big man. Gonna see him?
Can't he walk?
Says if you argue, mention the name Kramer. Now you gonna see him?
How can I miss? He weighs 285 pounds. Oh, it didn't figure, but sometimes you look and nothing figures. Kramer had taken one in the shoulder, and before he'd been able to talk, the lights had gone out, and he wound up in a hospital. Well, somebody had an angle, and maybe it was the guy across the street. I found him sitting all alone, about 300 pounds of beard in a plaid coat. He was picking all the strawberries out of his ice cream. Hey, you said for me?
Mm-hmm. Regan?
You got it.
Have something. Great banana split here. 4 kinds of ice cream.
I'm on a diet.
Oh, I never worry about things like that. It's a mistake. You only live once. Know me?
You got a name?
Spec Jameson. You know me now?
You got a grudge with Kramer?
Yeah.
You shot at him from the fire escape.
I did? When?
Half hour ago?
Anybody see me?
No.
That's good. How'd I do?
He got it in the shoulder. He'll live.
Up to that point, it could have been me.
Well, it's going to make a good story for the police.
For anybody. I'm clean as a whistle. You sure you won't have something?
Now, look, I got a date, Fatso. Let's span this out.
Oh, sure.
How about Kramer?
Oh, yeah. Where'd you say he was?
Hospital.
Oh, yeah. He hire you for protection?
Maybe.
Regan, you got a lot to learn about life.
No, just about living.
You catch on quick.
To what?
Now, you take me, for instance.
Your complexion's not so good.
It'll improve. Besides, I don't like trouble, Regan.
You'll have to get used to it.
It's just there's some things a man can't stand. Can't take lying down.
Name 3.
No, I just want you to understand I know what I'm doing, that's all. And this is what I'm doing. All right, Regan. Back on your feet.
Yeah, they serve ice cream and big dishes,
I'll
don't
give
they?
you a boost. Here's mine.
Take off the knuckles.
Quiet, Regan. There's some more metal in my pocket.
I don't need a Geiger counter.
I said you were smart. Now get this. It's a clean sweep. You're staying out of it.
Suppose I stick around.
Then I'll unglue you.
I left him sitting there with his ice cream. Wouldn't have done any good to trade fists with him. But there was something in the way he talked about Kramer and the shooting that made it a Sunday puzzle. I found a phone booth and put in a call to the Lion.
Regan, where you been? You see Kramer? What'd he say?
Well, now, which one do you want first?
What about Kramer?
He was all shot up.
Target practice?
Some guy with a grudge.
If he plays like that, yell cop.
Look, they'll want to see you. No police, remember?
What are you talking about?
Another bum client.
Why do these things always happen to me?
Because your palm is faster than your brain.
Every case has it.
Look, this is a 3-ring circus, and we haven't even got any peanuts.
Well, maybe I should have found out what he wanted.
Oh, you say that now.
Who's got the grudge?
A sweet tooth. Calls himself Spec Jameson.
Spec, where's he fitted?
He wouldn't stand still to show me his tea leaves.
You talked to?
We met.
When people start asking questions, we don't want to be stuck without any answers. You get out and run down some dope on this man Spec.
What are you going to do?
Don't worry, I'll take care of my end.
Yeah, most people do. Well, this job had more ups and downs than the Berlin airlift. I turned the phone book over to some drunk with a beer breath, and I walked over a couple of blocks to the morgue. I mean, the one where they keep dead newspapers. I got a friend who works in the file room of the L.A. Times. After 15 years of it, he's got about as much adrenaline as an old magazine in the attic.
Nope. No, I never heard of a Spec Jameson. Probably a nickname, isn't it? You know, Spec, short for glasses?
Yeah, I caught the drift.
Thought I was going to say spectacles, didn't you?
Hey, look, let's try this for size.
Yeah.
Big fat guy, but always hungry.
Mention any friend?
Kramer, and he wasn't a friend.
Like Adams in last Thursday's paper.
What'd he do?
Executed the same day in Sing Sing.
Spec Jameson.
Released from Quentin day before yesterday.
Let me see.
That's all it says. Served full 10-year sentence, continuous on 4 counts.
Somebody threw a book at him.
Yeah, maybe. Tell you in a minute.
Try December 38.
This case would have come up in November. Yeah, there we are. Yeah, you take these.
Yeah.
Hey, look at the funny skirts. Short, weren't they? Hey, here's one. War impossible, says
Look,
Bennett.
let's stick to the subject.
November 17th, Jameson appeal denied.
Read it, man.
A lot of stuff. He was in the rackets.
Go on.
Judge said unusual completeness of prosecution's case made retrial impossible. Continuous sentence upheld.
Who was the judge?
Govern, he's dead. Here's what you want. Special Prosecutor Joseph W. Kramer.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Joseph W. Kramer was brilliant relentless work for the forces of good in Los Angeles.
It's for you.
Okay, thanks. Yeah?
Mr. Regan?
Yeah.
This is Emmy, Mr. Kramer's secretary. Are you always this hard to find?
Well, that depends on where you look.
Mr. Kramer wants to see you.
You talking now?
He's feeling much better. The doctor said it was just a flesh wound.
What kind?
38.
All right. Where's the hospital?
The little place on Hawthorne. Mrs. Kramer will show you. If you don't mind going by the Biltmore and picking her up.
I haven't got my car.
Use Mr. Kramer's. It's in the garage there.
Is she expecting me?
I phoned.
15 minutes.
Good. He wants to thank you for what you did.
Well, what'd I do?
Kept the police out of it.
It's his show, but it may close.
What do you mean?
I ran into Spec Jameson.
Oh?
Now, you still want the police out of it?
I don't know. Mr. Kramer will tell you when he sees you.
You sound like you're changing jobs. So I went over to the garage, and I picked up his car, and then I drove to the hotel entrance. While I was arguing with the cab driver, Mrs. Kramer walked out. 45, a little tired around the eyes. She was wearing a white sheet, double bed size, under a mink coat that must have set somebody back $10,000. She didn't look like a wife that Kramer had had.
I hope this isn't inconveniencing you.
No, it's not.
Are you sure my husband's all right?
He's talking, according to Emmy.
Emmy. She's there with him.
She's his secretary.
Funny, isn't it? I'm his wife, yet she spends more time with him than I do.
Well, that's business.
Even now. When he's been hurt, she's there first.
She was there when it happened.
Of course. I guess I... Oh, never mind. You're a detective, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right.
Mr. Kramer hired you to protect him from that Jameson.
I never found out. Maybe.
I've been so worried about him. At the trial, Jameson said he'd kill him if it was the last thing he ever did. You know, I always thought it was taking an awful...
Hey, take it easy, lady.
You know the story.
Emmy?
She's young, pretty. I have to spend my time at bridge fights.
Does it help?
No.
How long you been married to him?
Next month, 18 years. I don't look the same way anymore.
Neither does he.
Funny what life does to you, isn't it? I was his secretary. Once. That's how I met him.
Look, how far to the hospital?
It's only a few more blocks. You go straight
Hang
down.
Who do you know that drives a big green Nash?
No one.
Well, he knows us. Been following us since we left the hotel.
How do you say?
Is he still with us?
Yes. I can't understand a thing like this happening. Why would anybody want to follow us?
Maybe it's a friend of your husband's.
Jameson?
He tried once tonight. Maybe it'd be better to get you.
I'm scared.
Come on, get out.
Mr. Regan!
The green Nash had been tailing me. I shook it on the last corner. There are lots of them, but it might have been the same one that was parked by my car downtown earlier. Oh, it made no sense, but I wasn't taking any chances. Only before I could get the door open, the Nash came sliding around the other side of the block. I shoved Mrs. Kramer into the floorboards and slid into the room. A lot of glass got broken fast. By the time I could separate my teeth from the clutch pedal, the car had gone. I shook Mrs. Kramer, but she didn't shake. She was dead.
You are listening to the story of The Lawyer and the Lady, tonight's adventure with Jeff Regan, Investigator. Listen, this is good news. Good news for you if you're between the ages of 20 and 26 and a half, married or single, a high school graduate, and want to fly for the United States Air Force. Yes, the Air Force Aviation Cadet Program is offering you the opportunity to become a pilot officer in the mightiest Air Force in history. You can be one of the Air Force's men of renown. And there's more offered than the pride you feel in being a member of America's flying team. For after your 52 weeks of training, you'll graduate as a second lieutenant in the Air Force with an income of more than $300 per month. Remember, the Air Force offers you what it offered General Jimmy Doolittle, General Carl Spaatz, and General Hoyt Vandenberg. Now, at 42, the Air Force Chief of Staff. Call at your local Army and Air Force recruiting station tomorrow. Apply to become an aviation cadet. And now, back to the story of the lawyer and the lady and Jeff Regan, Investigator.
Well, it all made sense, like a Ubangi with a piccolo. It started when the Lion sent me over to see a lawyer named Kramer. I got there just in time to meet Emmy, his receptionist, and find Kramer with a bullet in his shoulder. The hospital took over, and I left. That's when I ran into Spec Jameson, an ex-con who Kramer put away some 10 years ago. He turned out to have a lot of stomach and a big hate for the lawyer. And then I got a call from Emmy to pick up Mrs. Kramer. I did, and the shots began, and she ended up a candidate for the city morgue. Well, I called homicide, and I sent out some boys to clean up. I gave them what I knew, and I moved on out to see Kramer. The Angels of Mercy Hospital turned out to be a private place off Hawthorne. 2 stories of cement set down in the middle of a clover field. It figured that they only held a thermometer to patients that could make a big noise with a cash register. Kramer showed in an upstairs room next to a fire escape. He was climbing into an overcoat. And when he saw me, he looked unhappy, like a pointer with a broken tail.
Well, Regan, I'm glad you came to see me.
Tell me that later.
What do you mean?
How's the shoulder?
Oh, a little annoying, but it's all right.
Well, that figures.
Why?
It was a neat shot, just enough to raise a little fever.
What are you driving at?
Give it a chance. It'll sink in.
Come on, let's get out of here.
All right.
Pick up my wife downtown?
Yeah.
Good. She worries a lot. You know, tell you what, Regan, I'll send a check around in the morning for another 100. That all right?
Make it 1,000.
What's that for?
Insurance against guys like you.
Never mind that, Regan.
Why didn't you tell the Lion what you wanted in the first place?
I didn't know.
I got another story.
Well, you're wrong.
You knew Spec Jameson was out.
No reason I should tell you that.
I'm rehearsing a witness, that's all.
What?
Yeah, now let's hear what you did to him.
Nothing, not a thing. He can tell you that.
In 38, you got the book thrown at him.
He was a public enemy.
So's Smog.
Regan, a man in my position...
Maybe that's it. Maybe you're the kind of shyster that builds a rap on convictions.
Well, grant you had helped. That's all you want.
So he hated you.
He made threats.
What cooled him off?
$10,000.
When?
After I discovered he meant business, I sent someone with the money.
Figured Jameson forget everything for cash.
Men of his stripe always will.
You made a mistake.
Everybody does sometimes. I guess Jameson is still using his gun.
No.
But my shoulder will mend.
Your wife won't.
What do you mean?
She's dead.
No.
Homicide will tell you different.
I'd better go down to see them.
Yeah.
That bullet was meant for me.
Yeah, like you said, everybody makes mistakes. Well, we climbed in the taxi and headed for headquarters. Kramer looked confused. He mumbled a few words about what a good cook his wife had been, how he'd always tried to protect her from the stuff that he'd done to make a success. He was the kind of guy that always figured it was better to make a deal than face facts. Now he had to face a backfire. Well, there were a couple of newspaper photographers in front of the place. Kramer's shoulders dropped a couple of notches, then he headed for inside. I started in behind him, but an arm stopped me.
Regan, come here.
What are you doing out of bed?
Sit up. Get back in the taxi.
Look out, that meter will bite you.
I'm not paying the fare. Downtown, driver. Okay, Mike.
You know the cops are going to love you for this.
They can hear your side of it later.
Sure, and you'll stand behind me.
Now, Regan, I'll tell you how I speak of this. She gets killed. It was a mistake.
Oh, now, that takes a big brain.
Kramer's got enemies. Said Emma enemy, Dylan the wife Regan to get Kramer.
That's the last chapter.
And we'd like the next one. Turn in said enemy, and we'll pick us up a nice fat reward.
Homicide started with Jameson already.
They're gonna be surprised.
What do you mean?
He didn't do it.
How do you know?
I look into things. That's how I know.
Well, all right, big shot. Open it up.
It goes this way. 15 minutes after I talked to you, I put a call into the cops.
Saying what?
That I don't like my operator being threatened by ex-cons. What happens?
You tell me.
The police themselves take Jameson out of circulation. He was locked up before Mrs. Kramer got found. He's sitting in the Hollywood station house right now with a smile on his face.
Talking?
No, eating ice cream.
Well, now it really made sense, like a mermaid on a bicycle. If Jameson didn't throw the lead, I had to find out who did. The taxi dropped me off downtown across from the Park Central building, and I started up the elevator to Kramer's office. It figured to be the time to get a look inside that locked desk. When I opened the door marked Abercrombie, Kramer, and Schmidt, the place was dark. I moved into Kramer's office and started a little work on the desk. It took me about 10 minutes to get inside. Nothing showed in the first two drawers, but in the third, I picked up a box of Panatellas and I looked under it. That's where I found a .38 with one bullet missing. Well, ballistics could do something about it, so I crammed it in my overcoat pocket and I started outside. That's when the door opened and the little guy with the runny nose walked in. He was wearing a suit the color of an avocado and his face looked like a fried banana.
It's a nice rug, huh?
You from the cleaners?
I make my own spots. Sit down, Regan. We're going to talk.
I'll take it standing.
We prefer you sitting.
It's your gun.
More natural that way.
You got a name, Buster?
They call me the Dove.
The bird?
No cracks. Just the Dove.
Peace mission?
It is. Resting.
All right, what is it this time?
Where's Kramer?
China.
Regan, you're an unlucky contestant.
If you don't like my answers, try somebody else.
That's what I'm doing, correcting mistakes.
Like shooting the wrong guy.
Like leaving a witness. I had to get rid of my Nash on account of you.
You killed her, now you're waiting for her husband.
Of course I killed her, but don't try to change the subject. See what I'm talking about now.
Well, I don't like the spotlight.
You should have stuck your nose in here, Regan. It'll bleed.
Let's start with yours. I dove for him, and the gun went off, only it wasn't pointed at me. Kramer was standing in the doorway, pulling a trigger like a kid at a bubblegum machine. I figured the floor was safer, so I flattened out. The Dove tried the same, only he hit the wastebasket.
Did I get him?
Well, he looks as dead as he'll ever be.
A cheap murdering...
Look, let me hold the gun, huh, Kramer?
Yes. Oh, Regan, there's a bottle in the cabinet there.
Sure. Here you are.
Thank you.
What are you going to do now?
I don't know. Call the police, I guess.
I thought you were with them.
I came down in their car to get some of my files.
On the old Jameson case?
Yes.
You want to tell me?
Oh, it's about as you know. He was a small-time grifter. I gave myself a big name by prosecuting him, built my business and the reputation it gave me.
You told the police why he hates you?
Oh, yes. I intend to stand trial for killing this man.
You're growing up, Kramer.
Who was he, anyway?
The Dove.
No driver's license. Oh, yes, here it is. Dove Duval. Regan, look at this.
That's a lot of money.
It's $10,000. Same amount of money I sent to Jameson to stay away from me. Looks like the chickens came home to roost, doesn't it?
Uh-huh. Yeah, it does.
Well, police are waiting. I'd better go and tell them about this.
Go on.
You coming?
No, I'll meet you there, Kramer. I got a late date. I gave the boys downstairs the high sign, then I moved out of there fast. I found Emmy's place just off Normandy. It was a brand-new duplex with a gilt-edged driveway and stocks and bonds for awnings. For a business girl, she really did all right. I was a couple of hours overdue, but the girl with the smoky hair knew how to wait. There was a candle burning in her window and 2 more in her eyes. It took me a little time.
But now you're here.
Uh-huh.
Well, aren't you going to do something about it?
Yeah. Talk.
Mr. Regan, what's the matter with you?
I've been working hard.
Oh, is that all?
Now listen, lady. This is just too packed, too neat. The ends tied together like Siamese twins.
I'm alone.
Yeah, but you don't want to be. Your boss just rubbed out a killer named Dove.
What?
It was self-defense. I'm a witness, and he'll be out of it inside a week.
Well, then what are we bothering about?
A guy named Jameson. Nobody will believe him.
Why should they?
Because they didn't hire the Dove.
Who did?
You.
Oh, Mr. Regan.
All right, maybe it was your boss. He primed me with a story about giving Jameson 10 G's. Only one ever saw that dough was the Dove.
Well?
That was his price for killing Mrs. Kramer.
You're out in left field, Mr. Regan. I was working.
You were keeping me outside till Kramer could throw a small bullet into his shoulder.
Why would he do that?
To point up that Jameson was still after him.
But he was.
I figured different. And homicide's going to like my way.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, this gun has a different version.
Where'd you get it?
Kramer's bottom drawer. And the caliber is going to fit the hole in your boss's shoulder.
Well, that's it. You've got it all now.
Yeah. You know, you got a real nice hair.
Yeah?
That San Quentin water's going to ruin it. Well, the whole thing came apart like a paper hat in a shower bath. Seems that when Jameson got out of prison and threatened Kramer, the lawyer and his secretary figured that it was a good time to get rid of the wife. I suppose she interfered with their skiing or something. Anyway, they hired the Dove to do the job and then got rid of him just so he couldn't ever come to bat for the fall guy, Jameson. Yeah, they had a perfect frame fixed for him, and I was picked to decorate the edges, only it didn't work. Everybody was positive about this one. Kramer knew he was going to win. Emmy knew she was in for a big cut. And the Lion knew he was going to collect a fat fee. They should have all figured it. This is the year for upsets.
Jack Webb is featured as Jeff Regan with Herb Butterfield as Anthony J. Lyon. It's CBS at the same time next week for more hard-boiled action and mystery with Jeff Regan, Investigator. Written by Jackson Gillis and D. Jack Newman. Produced by Sterling Tracy. Featured in tonight's story were Carol Matthews, Marvin Miller, Lou Krugman, Herb Vigran, Mary Lansing, and Larry Dodkin. Original music for this program is by Milton Charles. This is Bob Stevenson speaking. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Ladies and gentlemen, this program is for you, not your children. The story you are about to hear is true. Only the names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all long cigarettes, brings you Dragnet.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to homicide detail. A woman and her 2-year-old child disappears suddenly. There's no apparent reason for it. 5 days pass. No trace of them. Your job? Find them. Webster's Dictionary. Definition of the word compare.
Compare. Examine for purpose of discovering resemblance or difference.
Now, let's compare Fatima with any other king-size cigarette.
The resemblance. Fatimas are the same length as other king-size cigarettes, 85 millimeters. Fatima has the same circumference, 1 1/64 inches around.
And Fatima filters the smoke exactly the same long distance as other king-size cigarettes.
The difference. In Fatima, the difference is quality.
You see, Fatima contains the finest domestic and Turkish tobaccos superbly blended to make Fatima extra mild. You get all the advantages of extra length plus Fatima quality. which no other king-size cigarette has.
So compare Fatima yourself. Your first puff will tell you...
Ah, that's different.
Yes, in Fatima, the difference is quality. Buy Fatima. Best of all long cigarettes.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Tuesday, April 20th. It was overcast in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of homicide. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Captain Blaine Steed. My name's Friday. I was on the way back from communications, and it was 1:35 p.m. when I got to room 42. Homicide.
Hi, Joe. What's doing?
Oh, not much, Mac. Where'd Ben go?
Inside, Captain's office. Be right back.
Oh, thank you. Keeping you busy?
Well, about the same. A little hectic around the house, though.
Well, that's right. Ben mentioned something about that. You're getting ready for a wedding out there, aren't you?
Yeah, my daughter Alice. Sure getting a nice fella.
Oh, that's so?
Yeah, ambitious kid. Part-time accountant. Goes to law school at night down Loyola. Real nice fella.
Mm-hmm. When are you getting married?
Week from Saturday. It's going to be a big church thing. Sure glad it doesn't happen often.
Oh, how do you mean?
Big production. Never saw so many bills in my life. New dress for Alice, going away luggage, bridesmaids' dresses, eats, drinks, new carpet for the hall, new curtains in the living room. Wife must think I'm made of this stuff.
Well, you should have had all boys, May.
Yeah.
You're giving your daughter away, huh?
Yeah. Well, that reminds me, I got to be sure and send my suit to cleaners, get a good press job on it. Sure is funny.
Huh? What's that?
It seems for years the wife's been afraid we'd never get Alice married off. Now it's finally in the works, the wife's still unhappy.
Oh, well, how's that?
Goes around moping around the house, wiping at her eyes, keeps muttering something about losing her little girl is leaving her. I don't know.
Well, how old's your daughter?
32. Well, I'll be down Stats office if anybody wants me.
Right, Mac.
Oh, pardon me, Ben. Excuse me, I didn't see you.
Okay. Hi, where you been?
Making a couple of phone calls. I think we might have something.
Yeah, what's that?
The Gorman case.
Uh-huh.
Had a call from one of their neighbors while you were gone. Where was that calendar of ours?
Gee, I don't know. Well, here, I got one in my pocket here in my wallet.
Oh, good.
Here you are.
Thanks. Well, let's see now. Mrs. Gorman and her little girl Nancy disappeared on the 15th. Is that right?
Yeah, Thursday. Why?
And the husband, Mr. Gorman, filed a missing complaint on Friday morning, right?
Yeah. What are you getting at?
Well, you remember when we talked to Mr. Gorman, he couldn't think of any reason why his wife and his little girl should disappear like they did.
Yeah.
Remember me asking him the question if his wife ran around at all, if she was interested in any other man?
That's right. He told you no, didn't he?
Well, this man who just called in, he lives out in the Gorman neighborhood. He swears up and down that Mrs. Gorman was keeping company with another man.
Well, who is this neighbor, anyway?
Name's John Pearson. He lives about 4 blocks from the Gormans.
Well, we talked to neighbors a lot closer than that to the Gormans. They didn't seem to know anything about it. What else did this guy tell you?
Well, let's see. The man Mrs. Gorman was supposed to be running out with is a Ralph Kane. He lives next door to Mr. Pearson.
Well, how'd this Pearson sound to you?
Pretty typical neighborhood watchdog. But here's the interesting part.
Uh-huh.
Mrs. Gorman and little daughter Nancy disappeared last Thursday. Now, according to Pearson, this Ralph Kane hasn't been seen around since Friday night. He told me on the phone he saw Kane toss a couple of suitcases in his car late Friday night and drive off. So he hasn't come back yet.
Yeah, it might be something. Well, how much of a romance was Mrs. Gorman supposed to be having with this Ralph Kane?
Well, it's pretty heavy, according to Pearson. Said it's been going on for 6 months anyhow.
And Mr. Gorman didn't know anything about it?
He got me there. If he did, he didn't let us in on it.
Uh-huh.
What if he'd have any reason to cover it up?
Well, it's possible, I guess. Didn't want the scandal. How sure are you that Ralph Kane's really missing? Might be just off on a weekend, huh?
No, I checked the place he worked. He's a printer. Didn't show up for work Monday. Didn't show up today either.
No message, no excuse?
Nothing. I called a friend of Kane's that Pearson knew about. Friend doesn't know where he's gone.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess we better get on. It's the first decent lead in 5 days. Huh?
Yeah. Just thinking, Joe. Neighbors like Pearson.
Uh-huh.
What would we do without him?
5 days before, on a Thursday evening, a Mr. Philip Gorman returned to his home in the Westlake district of Los Angeles to find his wife, Barbara Gorman, and his 2-year-old daughter, Nancy, missing. There wasn't any note, no explanation of any kind. A few clothes were gone. Mr. Gorman filed a missing report, and a broadcast and an APB were gotten out on the mother and daughter. Neighbors, friends, and relatives were checked. No leads. Routine investigation failed to turn up anything. Mr. Gorman could give us no explanation for the disappearance. After 3 days, we got out a radiogram. Still no results. Tuesday, 1:50 p.m. Ben and I got in the car and drove out to see John Pearson, who'd phoned in the information about Mrs. Gorman's supposed boyfriend, Ralph Kane. We found Pearson out on the back porch of his home, feeding some milk to a pair of house cats.
I thought everybody knew that, Sergeant. Mrs. Gorman running around with that Ralph Kane. I'm no busybody. I wouldn't have mentioned it all if this hadn't happened.
You say Kane had been seeing Mrs. Gorman for the last 6 months. Is that right, Mr. Pearson?
About 6 months. That's how long I've seen it go on. And James, don't be such a hog. Let Fred have some of the milk, too. Greedy little devils.
Do you know of anybody else in the neighborhood who's been aware of this, Mr. Pearson? I mean, Mrs. Gorman and this Ralph Kane?
Well, I know for sure that Thelma White next door knows about it. She's mentioned it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Kane used to park with Mrs. Gorman near that vacant lot by Thelma's house. Those were the nights that Mr. Gorman was working late.
Would you know if Mr. Gorman was aware of this, that his wife was running around with another man?
I'm pretty sure he did, Sergeant. That's the strange part about it.
Well, how do you know, sir?
For George, the man who delivers the groceries, he just happened to mention it to me once.
Mm-hmm.
All right, James. Right, it's all gone. Now run off and play. Yes, George, the grocery man, he made a delivery to the Gormans once and heard them rowing about it. George said Mr. Gorman was very mad, talked divorce, all that sort of thing.
Well, how about the Gorman's little girl, Mr. Pearson, little Nancy?
Tragic, Sergeant. Such a sweet little thing. Mrs. Gorman kept her under an iron hand. Imagine, the little girl's only 2 years old. Mrs. Gorman was after her with a stick all the time. She's not much of a mother. Not the way I look at it, anyway.
Well, what's your opinion of all this? Do you think that Ralph Kane has run off with Miss Gorman?
Well, what else can you think? 2 of them carry on for 6 months. Mrs. Gorman disappears Thursday. Mr. Kane leaves Friday night. What else can you think?
This neighbor of yours, Thelma White, does she live in this house over here, over on the right?
Yeah, that's right next door. You go over and talk to her. She's home now. Thelma will tell you the same thing I did.
All right, sir. Thank you very much.
Not at all, Sergeant. Just one thing I can't understand about Mrs. Gorman's little girl, little Nancy.
Yeah?
Can't quite understand why she's gone. Doesn't seem to fit somehow.
How do you mean?
If you're going to run off with a man, you don't take your family along.
2:15 p.m. We went next door and talked with the neighbor, Thelma White. She told us the same story as Pearson. From the 2 of them, we got the description. DMV furnished us with the license number of Ralph Kane's car. We checked further with Kane's friends, relatives, and his landlady. No one had seen or heard from him since late Friday. We searched the duplex where he lived. No leads. We went back to the office and checked Kane through R&I. He had 1 arrest for petty theft. We got out a broadcast and an APB on him. Well, that night, Ben and I drove out to see the husband and father of the missing woman and youngster, Philip Gorman. He was employed as a groundskeeper at one of the baseball parks in the city.
Pretty fair turnout tonight, huh?
Yeah. Weather's cleared up a little. Probably helped, huh? Where's the groundskeeper shack? Down at the end there?
Yeah, you can't see it from here. It's just below the end of the bleachers there.
Wow. You come out here very often?
Not as often as I'd like to. It's down this way.
Okay.
Watch your step, Fred. Joe's a mud puddle.
Yeah, I see it.
Oh, sorry. You'll have to get back in the stands. You're not allowed down this end.
How are you, Mr. Gorman? Friday and Romero. You remember us?
Yeah, sure. I didn't recognize you for a minute.
You got a few minutes, Mr. Gorman? We'd like to talk to you if we could.
Well, sure, right now, if you want. You found out something about the wife, little girl?
No, sir, nothing definite. Got a few questions we'd like to ask you.
Well, that's fine with me. I got nothing to do for a couple more innings. What's it all about?
Well, when we talked to you at your house the other day, Gorman, you remember me asking if you could think of any reason why your wife and your little girl should disappear like you did?
Yeah, I remember. There's nothing I can think of, Sergeant.
Do you recall us asking you if your wife might have been interested in some other man, somebody she might go off with?
Yeah, I remember all that. I told you I didn't think that was it.
Now, look, if you know something and you're not telling us because you don't want the scandal, you can forget that, Gorman, because whatever you tell us is in strict confidence, you know.
I don't know what you mean, Sergeant. I told you everything I know.
Well, we'll be honest with you, Gorman. We think you're trying to cover up.
Well, that's not true. I don't have anything to cover up.
We picked up some new information on your wife this afternoon. We hear she was pretty friendly with a man named Ralph Kane. Lives a few blocks from your house. We hear that you knew what was going on. You and your wife, Barbara, had a row. You talked divorce. How about it?
Well, let's go inside the shack here, huh? Get away from some of this noise.
Fine, sure.
I hope you don't mind it in here. It's A little dirty. I keep all the maintenance stuff in here.
That's all right, Gorman. Now, how about Ralph Kane?
Yeah. I knew about it. It's like you said, all the scandal. I just didn't want it to get out.
Well, look, if you're going to hold out on us, it's not going to help much to find your wife and little girl.
Yeah, I know, Sergeant. I just didn't want people to find out what a bum I married him. You know what some neighbors are like.
Mm-hmm.
I can't understand how it happened. I met the wife when I was in the Army.
I see.
I brought her back out here. Everything was fine. After the baby was born, she started to change. Nothing satisfied her. She began to run around. Nothing but a bum, but I guess I found out too late.
Well, now, this Ralph Kane, what do you know about him?
Well, he's a single guy. Works at a print shop downtown. He's a pretty good-looking guy. He's got money to spend. That's all Barbara cares about.
Well, what's your idea about it?
Huh?
You think Kane and your wife have gone off together?
Well, to tell you the truth, I'm not sure. Maybe they did. I've been trying to check around them all. I'm not getting very far. There's only one thing I'm really worried about. That's my little girl, Nancy. I don't care what my wife does or how far she goes. I just want my little girl back, that's all.
Have you any idea at all where your wife might have gone?
No, none at all. She didn't know California too well. She's only been out here a year.
Mm-hmm. You don't know any of Kane's friends, his hangouts, or places you think he might go?
No. Well, I never even met the guy, Sergeant. I'm going to, though. I know what he looks like. I'll meet him.
And there's just one more thing, Gorman. If your wife was set on running off with another man, why did she take your little girl with her? She wasn't too devoted to the baby, I understand.
Yeah, that's right. That's what's got me worried. The only thing I can figure out is the wife hated me more than I thought. She knew that I thought Nancy was about the greatest thing alive. I guess rather than let me have her, she took Nancy along with her.
Well, is it possible she might drop the baby off with some friend or relative and tell them to keep
her?
Well,
I've checked on that already, Sergeant. You got the names of all the people we know. I'm sure they'd get in touch with me if they had Nancy.
Well, we'll double-check them anyhow.
All right.
Well, if there's anything else comes up, you let us know right away, huh?
All right, Sergeant. It's just the baby, that's all, Nancy. As far as I'm concerned, my wife never lived. It's kind of hard to take anyway.
Yes, it is.
I think you got the finest setup in the world. Nice home, job, baby, good furniture, everything you need.
Yeah.
Everything but a wife.
The search for the missing wife and the 2-year-old daughter went on. The broadcasts and teletypes on Mrs. Gorman and Ralph Kane failed to net us a thing. A week passed. There were no leads. Another week went by. Nothing. The half-dozen replies we'd gotten on our teletype went nowhere. They were blind leads. Wednesday, May 5th. We got a call from the manager of an auto court in the south end of the city. He told us that a man, a woman, and a little girl, answering the description of the missing trio, had stopped at his place the night before. Along with Jack McCready from Homicide, Ben and I drove out and interviewed the man. We showed him pictures of Kane, Mrs. Gorman, and 2-year-old Nancy. He identified all three. He could give us no idea where they'd gone. We checked through the cottage where they stayed.
No, nothing. Just about as clean as you can get.
Well, something here.
What's that?
Look here. Kid's picture book. Let's see. Yeah, take a look right here.
This book belongs to Nancy Gorman. Well, we know they were here. That's about it.
Hey, Ben? Joe?
Yeah, Mac. Where are you?
Out in the back. Come here.
All right.
What have you got?
Come here, have a look.
Where'd you find that?
Poking around this trash barrel here. Looks like part of a little girl's dress, huh?
Yeah, there's not much there. Did you find the rest of her?
Well, that's all there is, just that little collar.
Let me take a look here, Ben. The stains right here, over here, too.
Yeah. What do you think?
Mac, blood stains?
I'd say so.
We drove back to the office to the crime lab and had Lee Jones run the stains on the dress. He ran a benzidine test and then a biological precipitant. The stains were made by human blood. Well, it still didn't put us any closer to the missing child or her mother. The search went on. We redoubled our efforts. No luck. Another 10 days passed. We had a few more responses to our all-points bulletin, but none of them panned out. On May 16th, we got 2 more leads to check out. They went nowhere. We got back to the office a little after 6 p.m.
Better call Mr. Gorman after we check in, huh? Keep him off of our backs.
Yeah, I hate to keep telling him the same thing. No word.
Yeah.
How about it? You call Gorman tonight, huh?
All right. Matt, what's doing?
Got something for you. Sheriff's substation called, East L.A.
Now, what about?
The Gorman case. They found him.
Where?
An another auto court right there in East L.A.? Ralph Kane and Mrs. Gorman. They got them both under surveillance.
Well, how about the little girl, Nancy?
Well, that's a hitch.
Huh?
No sign of her.
You are listening to Dragnet, authentic cases from official files. Now, let's look at our Fatima files.
Listed under H. Hardwick. Cedric Hardwick, distinguished actor. He says,
I find Fatima a very pleasing cigarette. It has a distinctly better flavor.
K. Kelly. Nancy Kelly, star of the Broadway hit Season in the Sun. She says,
between scenes and after the show, I like to relax in my dressing room and light up a Fatima. They have a really different flavor. And what's important to me, they're extra mild.
Listed under L. Lovett. Vice Admiral Leland P. Lovett, United States Navy, retired. He says,
I smoked Fatimas when I was a midshipman. I still do, because they have a better flavor and aroma. Fatima is easily the best of all long cigarettes.
Friends, our files show Fatima sales are going up. Up every day.
The reason for Fatima's ever-increasing popularity can be summed up in 2 words. Fatima quality.
Yes, Fatima gives you all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has.
So, if you smoke a king-size cigarette, compare Fatima.
You'll find they now cost the same, but your first puff will tell you...
Ah, that's different.
Because in Fatima, the difference is quality. Buy Fatima. Best of all long cigarettes.
Saturday, May 16th, 9 p.m. Along with Levinson and McCready from Homicide, Ben and I drove out to the sheriff's substation in the east end of the city. One of the deputy sheriffs directed us to the motor court where Mrs. Barbara Gorman and Ralph Kane were under surveillance. We found the 2 of them in one of the rear cottages. There was no trace of 2-year-old Nancy Gorman. Levinson and McCready took Ralph Kane out to the car to interrogate him. Ben and I remained in the cottage with Mrs. Gorman. She was a tall blonde, thin-faced and nervous. She spoke with a decided accent. We questioned her for more than 2 hours. We got nowhere.
Why don't you sit down, Mrs. Gorman? Relax.
How can anyone relax? These questions. You have no right to do this.
Well, maybe you haven't got it straight, Miss Gorman. This is a pretty important matter. We'd like to find out about your little girl.
I told you I don't know. She ran away.
Yes, ma'am. Now, we've had 10 different versions. You stopped at a hotel in Nevada and she disappeared. You were at an auto court in Bakersfield. She ran away during the night. We've heard just about all of them. Now, how about the truth?
I've told you everything I'm going to tell you. I don't know what's happened to the kid. She's gone, that's all. She's gone.
There's got to be an explanation for it. Where is she gone?
She ran away. How many times do I have to tell you? I left with Raph. We went out of the city. After a few days, Nancy got lonesome. She wanted to see her father. We were asleep one night, and she ran away. That's all there is to it. Simple. Why can't you understand?
Well, you're going to have to do better than that, Miss Gorman. Now, how about the truth? What happened?
You can't keep me here all night. Where's Raph? I want Raph.
Why'd you take the child with you in the first place, Miss Gorman? It's pretty obvious that you didn't want her. Did Kane want you to take her along?
Oh, no. He wants me to leave her. Just he and I. That's all he wanted. Should have left her there, all this trouble, questions.
There's an easy remedy, ma'am. What'd you really do with the little girl?
She wanted off. It's the truth. We didn't know it. She wanted off. We couldn't help it.
How about the little dress we found in that auto court with stains on it?
Same questions. You always ask the same questions.
What about the dress, ma'am?
Do I always have to repeat? I told you. Raph got his hand. He was shaving. It was just an old dress, a rag. Raph bandaged his hand with it.
Well, you usually wear bandages a while, don't you? Don't just throw them away.
It was only a scratch. You didn't need the rag very long.
Quite a few stains on the dress, ma'am. Must have been more than just a scratch.
No, it was just a scratch. Can't you believe anything I say?
No, not so far.
Please. Can't I go outside for a few minutes? I have a headache. It's so hot in here.
All right, Miss Gorman. Go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah, thanks.
The air, it's so good. Terrible headache.
You mind telling us something, Mrs. Gorman?
Please. Can't you let me alone for a minute?
Why did you leave your husband?
Him? Any woman would leave him. It's Raph. I love Raph.
And your little girl, what about her?
My husband wanted her, not me. I'm just not like that. I didn't want her in the first place. It was a mistake. A terrible mistake.
Is that why you got rid of her?
What?
Now, it's pretty obvious by this time, ma'am. When you left your husband, you took your little girl along for spite. Cain didn't want her. You found out you didn't either, so you got rid of her. Now, is that it?
I didn't say that. You're putting words in my mouth. I didn't say that at all.
Joe, Ben?
Yeah, Mac, go here.
Ken's given us half the story. Shouldn't be too hard to get the rest.
It's a lie. There's no story to tell. Nancy ran away. That's all we know.
Mac?
Kane says they tried some kind of a death pact. He and Mrs. Gorman here got in a room and turned on the gas.
He didn't tell you. He didn't tell you.
I'm afraid so, ma'am. That's your boyfriend's story.
What else, Mac?
Well, as I say, Kane and Mrs. Gorman got in the room, agreed to end it all. They had a little girl with them in the room.
Well, why was that?
Kane says he doesn't know. Seemed to simplify things, having the kid with him.
He tell you what happened?
Yeah, they turned on the gas.
No. Don't. Never mind.
Miss Gorman?
Never mind. You don't have to say it.
You want to tell us about it? Miss Gorman?
Yes. I'll tell you.
3 a.m. We went back inside the cottage at the auto court. We gave her a cigarette, and Barbara Gorman sat down and told us the story. 4 days after she'd left with her 2-year-old daughter and Ralph Kane, she knew she'd made a mistake. She admitted that she never should have taken the child. She said the little girl seemed to be in their way all the time. Kane was all for deserting the child or sending her back to her father. Mrs. Gorman wouldn't agree to it, just out of pure spite. One night in an auto court, she and Kane had a big drinking party. They brooded over the mix-up that they'd gotten themselves into. Kane didn't have any money to get married. He knew he'd lost his job. Even if they could get married, Mrs. Gorman wasn't sure she could get a divorce. Another full day and night of drinking, and they decided on a lover's death pact. They turned on the gas.
I don't get it, Mrs. Gorman. Why'd you have your little girl in the room with you? Why didn't you leave her with somebody, with anybody?
Why? She was mine, wasn't she? I thought we could go together, all three of us, but it didn't work that way.
Well, what happened?
Well, Raph and I woke up. Our throats were burning. My eyes were burning. I looked over at Nancy. She wasn't moving. It was just like she was asleep.
What'd you do then?
We got in the car and left. We found a nice place in the desert. There were nice flowers there. We buried Nancy.
How about you and Ralph Kane? You knew you were in deeper. Why didn't you try it again?
Oh, we did, a couple of times. We loved each other. It's the only thing we could do. But every time we tried, we couldn't go through with it. We'd try. We never could finish it. Ralph got a job. We were going to buy a gun. Tomorrow, we'd try again.
Can you show us where you buried your little girl?
Yes. Place in the desert, out near Palm Springs. It was a nice place. There's lots of nice flowers around. You understand, don't you? We were in love, Raph and I.
Yeah.
My husband wouldn't understand the way I loved Raph. It was everything. It was the whole world, Raph and I. I didn't mean it that way for Nancy. It was a mistake. You've got to understand I didn't mean it that way.
That's the way it is.
It doesn't matter. You can't hurt us, not Raph and I. You can't take away what we've got. You'll never take that away.
All right, you want to get your coat?
Yes. It doesn't matter what happens. It's for Raph. I don't care what they do. I'll keep on loving him. The same way I love him now. It doesn't matter. We'll pay for our mistakes.
Yeah, lady. They're going to cost you. At 5 a.m., we put in a call for Lieutenant Lee Jones and the crime lab crew and the coroner. When they arrived at the auto court, we drove to the spot in the desert near Palm Springs where Ralph Kane and Mrs. Gorman pointed out the spot where they buried Nancy. The body was uncovered at the exact spot. It was taken back to town to the county morgue, where an autopsy was performed. Kane and Mrs. Gorman were booked on suspicion of murder. By 5 o'clock that afternoon, we had the results of the autopsy.
Yeah, Doc. Uh-huh. Right. Thank you. Bye.
What's the story, Mac?
Not what we thought.
How do you mean?
I think Mrs. Gorman sold us a bill of goods. Little girl didn't die in a room full of gas.
What'd the doc say?
He found 2 bullet holes in the body.
That night, after hours of interrogation, Ralph Kane and Mrs. Barbara Gorman both broke down and confessed that they'd killed the child in cold blood. They pleaded drunkenness, that they weren't responsible for their actions. They were returned to their cells and held without bail. The child's father, Philip Gorman, was notified. The following morning, Ben and I accompanied him to the county morgue.
It's this way, Mr. Gorman.
Oh, thanks.
You sure you want to go through with it, sir? Mr. Gorman?
Well, I might as well tell you the truth. I'm not sure I do.
It isn't going to help much, Mr. Gorman. Believe me, it didn't.
I just wanted to see you just once more.
Yeah, well, it doesn't work out. Wouldn't be the same. Not the way you remember.
Just wanted to see. I just wanted to find out.
What's that?
About her mother, Ralph Kane. What is it that can make them do it? Little girl, she's only 2. What can make anybody do a thing like that?
Your wife called it love.
The story you have just heard was true. Only the names were changed to protect the innocent.
On September 10th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 89, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial.
And now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you. Friends, tonight you've heard just a few of the reasons why you should smoke Fatima. It sums up this way. Fatima gives you all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has. Tomorrow, buy Fatima in the golden yellow package. Remember, they're extra mild with a different, better flavor and aroma.
Mrs. Barbara Gorman and Ralph Donald Kane were tried and convicted in Superior Court of murder in the first degree. Mrs. Gorman was sentenced to life imprisonment. Kane received the death penalty. He was executed at the State Penitentiary, San Quentin, California.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Bill of Rights section of the United States Constitution protects our freedom. Today, that freedom is endangered by tyranny and aggression. Every American must help make our free government an example to all peoples by dedicating himself to a constant, active citizenship. Freedom needs you.
Just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all long cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Stay tuned for Counter Spy. Next over most NBC stations.
Pat Novak For Hire. Sure, I'm Pat Novak For Hire. That's what the sign out in front of my office says. Pat Novak For Hire. Down on the waterfront in San Francisco, you don't get prizes for being subtle. If you want to make a living down here, you got to get your hand in the till any way you can. You rob Peter to pay Paul, and then you put it on the cuff. So I rent boats and tell a few white lies if the price is right. It's a happy life, if you don't mind looking up at a headstone, because sooner or later you draw trouble a size too big. I found that out Tuesday night. It was raining, and the street was as deserted as a warm bottle of beer. It must have been about 11 o'clock when I came out of the office and started down the waterfront. As I got near the corner, I stopped. An old man stepped out of the darkness and started across the street. It was a short trip because a car started up down the street, and the old man couldn't have made it with a pocket full of aces.
started over to him. The car slowed down for a minute and then turned the corner and disappeared. As it passed under the streetlight, I caught a glimpse of the license plate in a dull, surprised way, the way you'd grab a feather out of an angel's wing. I bent over the old man and rolled him on his back. He didn't seem to be in pain. He was just an old man with the frightened look of a small boy in a storm, who was breathing hard as I cushioned his head.
Please help me. Can you please help me?
That's a big order, mister.
I must talk to you.
Well, if you've got any good quotes, you better get them off your chest fast.
In my pocket. Inside my pocket. You please put your hand.
Yeah. In here?
Yeah.
Sure. 2 envelopes. What about them?
One is money for you. You have the other one?
So far.
The other one. Please keep sealed. And you will give it to John St. John?
John St. John.
Yeah.
Well, where's he live?
You don't understand. It's not... I want to tell you. You don't understand.
He was right on that one. I didn't understand a thing, except he slipped out of my arms and stopped paying taxes. I dragged him over the side, and I went through his stuff. There was nothing there. No identification. Just a card with an address out on Haight Street. I opened the envelope, and $300 tumbled into my breast pocket. The other one was sealed. There was no name on it, but up in the corner there was some kind of marking. It looked like 2 crosses spliced together. There wasn't anything I could do for him except pray, and I owe some back dues, so I went back to my office and called police headquarters. I told them where the old man was, and then I checked in the phone book. There was no John St. John listed. Well, it wasn't going to be easy to find him, and I only had 2 leads, that license number and the address on Haight Street. So I looked up the only honest guy I know, an ex-doctor and a boozer by the name of Jocko Madigan. A good guy, but to him a hangover is the price of being sober. I finally found him singing in a Mason Street bar. Jocko, I want to talk to you.
Ah, Patsy. You're just in time for the counterpoint. I'm singing a song, a little sentimental thing from my childhood.
Yeah, well, it'll keep. I got a problem.
You'll always have a problem, Patsy, because you can't keep out of trouble. You know that, don't you? You have no self-control.
All right, Jocko.
You have no more self-control than a bucket of mercury dumped on a marble staircase.
All right, now, shall we check the bright talk? I just saw a guy get killed.
Oh, you are like some violent disorder in nature, some large but unprofitable storm. You keep whirling in circles, Patsy. If you ever go more than 10 feet in one direction, it's because some woman is 9 feet away. Then it begins all over again.
Are you all through?
Yes, get to the point. That's another of your troubles. You never get to the point.
I just saw a guy killed 10 minutes ago.
How would that interest me? Are you selling an eyewitness account?
Some old guy got killed down on the Embarcadero. He checked out 15 feet away from me.
Who killed him?
I don't know.
Why do you care? Professional jealousy?
Some car came out of nowhere and clipped him.
You sure it wasn't an accident?
Yeah, just like the Berlin blockade. Will you stop needling me, Jocko? I told you a guy got killed. He was murdered right in front of me. I got to find a guy called John St. John.
How, St. John?
John St. John. I don't feel like vaudeville tonight, Jocko. The old man gave me $300 to deliver a letter, and I made him a promise.
Well, you can break it now with only the slightest risk.
I got the license number of the car. Now, I want you to hop down and look it up. And then check at headquarters to see if the guy's got a record, will you?
I don't like policemen. They depress me.
Check it. I got to go out to Haight Street. What kind of neighborhood is it out there?
Well, it's not exactly a neighborhood. It's more like an architectural afterthought, a lingering defense against the early California bear.
All right. No speeches. Just check on that license plate, huh? Now, if I'm not at my place, try this address.
Yes, that's always very interesting at this time of night. Good night, lover.
Jocko was right about the neighborhood. When I left him, I doubled by my place and left the envelope. I put it inside another envelope and stashed it behind some books, and then I headed out to look up John St. John. Oh, it must have been about midnight when I got there, and it was the kind of a neighborhood where a for rent sign reads like a ransom note. I found the place, though. It was an old rooming house, a third-floor apartment. I knocked at the door, and When she opened it, I knew it was time to wire home for money. A tall, blonde blister with lots of Fahrenheit. She stood there leaning against the door, smiling, looking at you as if you had gold-plated muscles. It gave you a weak feeling where your dinner ought to be. And her voice came right out of the oven.
Well, you're that kind of lady.
Yeah, I'm looking for a guy named John St. John.
Oh? Won't you come into my cobweb?
Sure. For a spider, you're nice and chubby.
Oh, a Spider-Man. My name's Lee Norton. You want to write it down?
I'm Pat Novak. I'm looking for a guy named John St. John.
You seem to be running a temperature on the subject. Sit down?
Yeah, the couch will do.
I'll bet you carry rainy nights in your pocket.
All right, now let's get out of the woods, Angel. I'm looking for a guy.
I know you're wearing out the past. I don't know a John St. John.
A dead man was carrying around your address.
He was? That seems rather feudal.
Yeah, an old guy about 60. He got killed crossing the street.
You should have had a Boy Scout then. I don't know anything about him, Mr. Novak. Despite occasional temptations, I don't collect 60-year-old men.
Well, he was looking around your address. Why?
I don't know. Maybe he admired me from afar, like a sunset or something.
No, he stopped admiring sunsets about 20 years ago.
I see. What are you, the avenging angel?
He gave me a sealed envelope.
And you were supposed to give it to a man named John St. John.
That's right. He gave me $300 to ease the pain.
I forget that. You don't look like the charitable type.
He was a nice old guy, so I'm going to find his boy.
Maybe I could help you.
But you got a clear, fast track. Let's see you go.
Well, I told you I don't know John St. John, but I'll do this much.
Yeah, I know. You're going to be big-hearted and offer to take that letter just in case you ever meet someone named John St. John.
What? You brought along your crystal ball.
Your hand's shaking, baby.
Maybe it's the wind. You better hold it.
You need a handrail, friend.
Yeah? What are your plans?
I'm open-minded about it.
You're a nice Spider-Man.
Yeah. The wind's getting a little worse, isn't it?
Yeah. Wish you'd act a little more surprised, though.
I'm not. When I walked in, I could see you had both arms broken. Did you pay the rent this month?
Keep the kettle on. I'll only be a moment.
Hello, Lee. If we're early, just give us a magazine.
No, come on in. Well, just enough for some bridge.
You're right. You're only gone for a moment. Who are your friends?
Well, now, don't sulk.
Did they lock the manhole before they left home?
His name's Novak.
Yeah? That's a pretty name. It don't rhyme with anything, but it's pretty, huh, Joe?
Yeah, it's all right.
Let's have the letter, Novak.
You got hold of a bad rumor, fella.
The one I got's good. Let's have it.
I don't want to strain your mind, Junior, but try to understand. I don't have a letter.
Ask him again.
Go on home, mister. You're not going to get anything out of me except a small tip. Now, if you're a good boy, I'll give you a nickel for your friend, too.
All right, Joe. Hold him up.
Yeah. Just a minute.
He's got a head of hair. Hold him up.
All right, Mike. That's enough. That's enough.
All right, baby. Don't look so sorry you can't have everything.
It's easy to sleep if you got the right friends. When those two dollops were through, I hit the floor and made Rip Van Winkle look like an insomnia victim. I didn't like the floor, but it was in better shape than my face. I don't know how long I was there, but it must have been a couple of hours. I rolled over once and tried to get up, but it was like trying to barbecue a cake of ice. There was a sick, sweet smell in the room. I tried to place it, but my nose was out on strike, so I went to sleep again. The next thing I knew, it sounded like New Year's Eve.
Here you go, Betsy. Up on the couch.
What's the matter?
Nothing. If you're the kitchen stove, the room's full of gas.
Oh.
You ought to open the window if you're going to turn on the gas.
Some of my playmates, I guess.
Well, you weren't at the apartment, so I tried here.
Yeah. What time is it?
2:00. Who got the quaint idea of the gas chamber?
The girlfriend. It was love at first sight.
I see. Let's go home to bed.
I'm getting used to floors. That old man started a ball game, Jocko. When I mentioned John St. John to this girl, she turned banker and brought in the gunsels.
Did she get the letter?
I left it at home.
Oh, you're getting smart.
Yeah. $300 worth. They lifted my dough.
Well, you couldn't have used it where you were going.
Yeah.
I've checked on that hit-and-run car. It's listed under the name of Sidney Bronson.
Has he got a record?
No.
Everybody's a beginner. Well, let's go home.
Oh, it'll be dull, but you'll get used to it. Wait till I wash my hands.
Yeah, go ahead.
Patsy!
Yeah?
What did your girlfriend look like? Was she the lively type?
Yeah. Why? What's the matter?
Because she's not anymore.
Yeah. Those Gunsels play rough.
She's kind of pretty. What did she do besides sending out vibrations?
I don't know. But she knew all about John St. John.
Yeah?
She picked up the bait like a hungry bass. Also, look at that ring.
How'd you get around to that?
The insignia on it. The same one that's on that envelope, spliced crosses.
Let's go home, Patsy. The police will be here.
Yeah. Even Hellman will know she's dead. Come on, we better go. On your way out the door, Jocko, try it sideways because I think it's blocked.
Hello, Novak. You look pale.
It's my color scheme. What do you care, Hellman?
None. She looks peaceful.
Yeah, be quiet or you'll wake her up.
I'll tiptoe. She always cut her throat before she goes to sleep. Who is she, Novak?
I don't know.
It's awful cozy here for a bunch of perfect strangers.
I don't know every dead girl in town, Hellman. You'll have to check.
You can still write, can't you, Novak? That's all you'll need down at headquarters. Come on.
Oh, get out of the haze, Hellman. You don't know who's dead yet, but you're going to book somebody.
Yeah. What are you doing up here, appraising the joint?
I came up to find a guy named John St. John.
She doesn't look like a guy named John St. John.
She was my lead. I came up here to smell out a rat. She had a half Nelson on me when two Gunsels walked in.
They came up to fix the gas meter, I think.
You stay out of this.
I'll make every effort.
Now, if you're smart, you'll fingerprint this place, Hellman. These boys were cute. They've been in somebody's jail.
I'll handle my job. You stick to murder.
You'll go a long way to pin this on me, Hellman.
I can go a long way, Novak.
Not with what you got to drag.
We get a call in the middle of the night. Come up here and find you standing over a dead girl.
That's right.
And you want me to sprinkle powder all over. Back up and take a better look, Novak.
Oh, the view's fine, Hellman, and if you'll take a good look, you'll know why. You haven't got anything to give the DA except a slim lead and a fat hand. You're going to need help.
Not on this one.
You need help to find the street. Come on back to center, Hellman. Even with both hands, you couldn't
Yeah?
Forget it.
So take the medicine like a good boy. I'm not going to walk out and let the two of you tour the town. I'm going to book one or both of you on a murder charge.
All right. Book Jocko here, then.
I love you in a generous mood.
You got a string, then, Hellman. Somebody's got to find John St. John.
Who's going to find Jocko?
Oh, stop worrying. I'll bail you out.
You haven't got the right size heart, Novak. You'll let him die on the vine.
Hellman, sometimes you're guilty of unexpected wisdom. I know it's reflex action, but it's consoling anyway.
I want you, Novak. I want you bad. I'll take this guy as a down payment, but I'm going to close out with you. Remember that.
I will.
All right. Come on, mister.
Wait a minute. Patsy, you're not going to let him lug me off like this.
What else can I do? The guy likes you. It was a bum curve to throw Jocko, but somebody had to dig us out of a hole. Jocko wasn't the boy. You can't shovel dirt with a bar rag. Well, I had no idea where to start. There were two murders, and they were both tied up with this John St. John. He didn't look like a good guy to know. Then there was that insignia, too. The one on the letter and the one on the girl's ring. Sure, it could be a coincidence, but that's what they said about Bluebeard. The only thing I could do was open that letter, so I went back to the apartment. I didn't have to turn on the light. They were running in pairs tonight. She was sitting there on the couch, proud of a pair of long silk legs and smiling like a guy who knows he's got $1 million in the bank. She was blonde, too. A little more lemon juice, maybe, but blonde anyway. She was nice and comfortable, and I got the idea she just signed a lease.
Good evening. How do you do?
Not very well so far.
A sly remark, Mr. Novak?
No, I'm just bringing you up to date. Your girlfriend's dead.
Yes?
Yeah. The gas jet's out in the kitchen.
It is? I think that's supposed to be mysterious.
You clear it up, then. Find a name for yourself and a reason why you picked out my furniture.
Oh? Do you mind my being here?
I just want to know your name before I throw you out in the hall.
Mr. Novak, I'll bet you're awfully slow when it comes to throwing somebody out in the hall.
Not if they can bounce as well as I figure you can.
When you do throw me out, throw the letter out, too.
All right, now, I've already had a dress rehearsal. The answer's no.
Well, at least I know where you stand. By the way, why are you standing? Please sit down.
Yeah. Who's John St. John?
Don't be redundant, Mr. Novak.
Who is he? If you want that letter, you know him.
Don't shout. I'd like you better if you could.
I don't need your vote. Who's John St. John?
I don't know him.
You want that letter because you collect stamps.
I want it. And you'll have to take my word. I don't know John St. John. Is it worth breaking your heart over?
Look, there's a good guy down in the trunk sweating on a murder rap for me, so I want John St. John.
You've got nice friends.
Who's Sidney Bronson?
How does that fit into the picture?
This started with a waterfront corpse. The leftovers belonged to an old guy that was hit by a car. The car's registered in the name of Sidney Bronson.
Mr. Novak, you seem so intense. It's a pity to waste it on random speculation.
Now, look, I told you, lady, I got a friend in the jug.
Loyalty's a nice trait. One of your nicest.
Yeah.
You're a pretty thing, Patsy.
Let's don't get fooled by the wrapper.
I'll take a chance.
Anybody ever brief you on trouble?
Mm-hmm. You're hard to see that far away. Come on over into focus, Patsy.
Yeah.
You're pretty, Patsy.
You look like you want a bill of sale.
I'm a gentle kind, Novak. I'd just like to break your ribs.
Go ahead, I can get a brace.
Come here.
Yeah. What's on your mind?
What you're going to say when you find out about this gun?
Huh?
That's right, sweetheart. My finger isn't hollow. Back up and take a look at the gun.
You got to that purse, huh?
That's right.
You've ruined my confidence.
I'll give you a testimonial. In the meantime, I want the letter.
You go after everything the same way.
I want the letter.
It's in the desk. Come on. Right here in the top of the door. All right.
Go, stay away from...
I'm already here, lady. All right, now come on, drop the gun, sis.
Let go of my arms now.
That's your version.
Let go of me. Let go of me. What was that for?
A little something in the house. Now beat it.
Well, you've ruined my confidence.
You're lucky. Go on home.
You won't change your mind about that letter?
No.
Suit yourself. I'll be going. Oh, Patsy?
Yeah?
I can't help you on John St. John, but I wouldn't worry about that fellow, Sidney Bronson.
Why?
Because I'm Sidney Bronson. See you soon, Patsy.
That one sink in for a minute, but it got about as far as my brain and ran out of gas. She wasn't driving that murder car. Otherwise, she wouldn't get that talkie. It began to look like a big, fat, well-fed double-cross, and John St. John was holding up his end. I had to find out what was in that letter, so I made tracks for the bookcase. All I could do was browse because the letter was gone. Whoever took it didn't even leave a tip. I thought of the girl, but that didn't make sense. And I thought of John St. John. That made lots of sense. Things didn't look rosy for me or Jocko. I was about to buy a file and bake a cake when the phone rang. Yeah.
Hello, Novak.
Oh, Hellman.
The coroner got a report on that dead girl. She died at 12:30.
That's pretty close. What's he got, a stopwatch?
15 minutes either way. Those fingerprints panned out, too.
Yeah?
Couple of L.A. strong-arm men.
Well, that's new for L.A. You got a call out?
We already picked them up. Your favorite's named Welcome Danglers.
I could make a joke.
I already got one. They're set up with a perfect alibi for 12:30.
That means I killed the girl.
Nobody's arguing. I got some more news.
Yeah?
I'm out at Seal Rock.
You got the figure for it.
We just found an envelope floating around the water. It's one of yours. You better come on out.
You found an envelope, so what?
So the envelope turns out to be in some guy's pocket. Come on out.
Well, that only meant one thing. Whoever took that envelope out of my place got popular. It was getting late, so I grabbed a cab and rode out to the beach. When I got there, Hellman was standing down near the water. He had Jocko with him. The surf was rolling in, and Jocko wasn't much better.
Hello, Patsy.
Hiya, Jocko. How's jail?
Dry. Thanks for coming, Novak. You're sweet.
Where's the envelope?
Here.
Yeah, the same one.
That makes you look good.
There was a letter in here. Did you take that with the guy's money, Hellman?
You got all there is.
This guy on the beach is the third one.
It's my opinion the case will solve itself. We're running out of people.
Who is the guy?
His name's Walter Avery. Here's his stuff.
Yeah, what's left? Well, this spliced cross really gets around.
Huh?
It keeps bobbing up. Here it is on the guy's fountain pen.
I'm going to run this guy through the morgue, and then I'm going to look you up, Novak.
Yeah?
Sure. We want you down with us. That's right, Patsy. I'll introduce you to all the best people. Good night, lover.
Well, it was close to 5, so I tagged by my place for some sleep. I tossed around like a fish on the living room rug. Hellman called about 9 to throw more dust in my eyes. He said one of the airlines had a passenger to Portland named Walter Avery. Just to make it tough, the guy made the 12 o'clock plane and got off at Portland. Well, I had left field all to myself. I got dressed and looked up Sidney Bronson's number. There was no answer, so I went over. The place was locked, and I looked up the janitor. He wasn't going to let me in, but it turned out his wife had a birthday coming up. Sidney's apartment was real high-powered. I don't know where she got the dough, but I knew I wasn't going to find a tin cup and pencil. What I found was lots better. A card with that same insignia, the spliced cross. The card said Bellcrest Sanitarium, and down in the corner there was a guy's name, Dr. Emil Schoenig, psychiatrist. Vienna without the walls. The Bellcrest Sanitarium was down near San Carlos, so I borrowed a new Nash from a guy I know and headed down that way. Everything was fine until I got in the front door. They didn't even let me register. I woke up on a couch in Schoenig's office. It was dark outside, and my left arm was throbbing like a love story in a woman's magazine. The radiator sitting next to me was Sidney.
You're a deep sleeper.
I think I got some help. What happened to my arm?
Hypodermic. You only need one arm anyway.
In your case, I need a spare. Who did it?
Dr. Schoenig.
He's a darling boy. Where is he?
Out on the phone trying to figure out what to do with you.
What's that make me, a patient?
Well, that's one way of putting it. You made things easy. We were coming to you for the letter.
You want to try that over again?
We were on our way when you stumbled in.
You're wrong, Sid. Somebody's giving you a fast pitch. That letter was gone when you were up at my place.
I don't want a bum rib, Patsy. I want that letter.
You're trailing a field, Angel. I told you the letter's gone. A guy by the name of Walter Avery took it out of my place.
Walter Avery?
That's right, and somebody thanked him. They found him this morning making like a dead seal.
Walter Avery left for Portland last night.
A plant, sweetheart. You better read up on your friends.
Yeah. Thanks, Patsy.
I told you to watch it, Sid. You had more shots.
What's the difference?
None, I suppose. Why don't you mix us a drink while I talk to Mr. Novak?
I'll be right with you.
Well, Mr. Novak, you're one of my best patients.
That's because I like your needles. You better go easy on that drink.
Yes? Why?
You'll get drunk and run somebody down the way you did that guy on the waterfront.
Oh? A good guess. You should be proud. That's a good, sensible, final emotion.
Here's your drink, Emil.
Thank you, my dear. It's to Mr. Novak. Sorry there's no drink for you, Mr. Novak.
You probably will be.
Huh?
Forget it.
Emil, I talked to Mr. Novak before you came in. He thinks you're a heel.
He does.
So do I.
Oh, I can stand it.
He told me about Walter Avery.
I'm sorry about that.
Walter got that letter. You killed him and took it. I was supposed to blunder around till you got rid of me, too. That's a bum joke, Emil.
You're getting hysterical.
With laughter, Emil. You put one of your boys on that plane. Only Novak aired the wash too fast.
Suppose I did. Somebody ought to bring you up to date, Sidney. You've been hanging on too long. The free ride's over. I might as well tell you now. You're all through. I can't a whole bunch of longer. And I'm all through.
Steady, Emil.
What's the matter with me? What's the matter with me, Sid?
Give him a hand, Novak. He just had a bad drink.
You wouldn't do that, Sid.
I'm full of surprises. You got a stomach full of poison. You got a stomach full of poison in 15 seconds, Emil. Put down that gun, Emil.
I want you too, Sid.
Please, Emil, put down the gun.
I will stop. It's possible. This happened kind of fast for an of us.
What's the noise, huh, Patsy?
Yeah. I'll get you a pillow.
I'd rather have your lap.
You get mercy, not love, baby.
Thanks for small favors. How do I look?
Not so good. That was the 3-2 pitch.
Yeah, I had it coming up. I'll tell you about John St. John.
I know. There was no such guy.
That's right. It was the name of the group.
Those spliced crosses?
Yes. I found out a little late. It's always that way. That's the way I found out about you.
Yeah?
I had a funny hunch about you and me. I found out a little late. But I know now, Patsy. Does that help?
the name of an organization buying and selling government information. That old man tried to tell me, but he checked out too fast. I began to figure something like that when those spliced crosses started showing up. Schoenig killed the old man in Sidney's car. He couldn't stop because I was around. The two girls and Walter Avery were both in on the deal. Schoenig knew who I was when he saw me go into my office. He tailed me to my place and left Avery there to look for the letter. He killed that girl up in the rooming house, and then he found out she didn't have the letter. When Avery showed up, he took it away from him and threw him to the fish. Schoenig was trying to shake Sidney by sending her up to my place after he had the letter. The scheme went haywire when I showed up at the sanitarium. He was trying to work himself out of that one when the payoff came. John St. John? Yeah, right from the start, Jocko said he was either dead or in the state pen, because anybody with a name like John St. John would have killed his parents as soon as he got old enough to find out about it. Worked out all right. They found the letter out at Schoenig's place. There were some plans for guided missiles and a few other trifles. Well, Hellman asked only one question. How come Schoenig didn't kill me before I could talk to the girl? Well, it's always that way with a guy who commits murder. Either he goes too far or he doesn't go far enough.
Radio Service has just brought you Pat Novak For Hire, starring Jack Webb. Pat Novak is produced by William P. Russo. Jocko Madigan is played by Tudor Owen. Inspector Hellman is played by Raymond Burr. Music was composed and conducted by Basil Adams. Be with us again next week when over most of these same stations we'll bring you Pat Novak For Hire. Pat Novak For Hire was previously released by ABC, the American Broadcasting Company, for listeners in the United States, and rebroadcast for our men and women overseas. This is the United States Armed Forces Radio Service, the voice of information and education.
The story you are about to hear is true. Only the names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all long cigarettes, brings you Dragnet.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to burglary detail. A gang of clever thieves are at work in your city. In 3 months, they've looted fashionable homes of $100,000 in furs and jewels. There's no clue to their identity. Your job? Get them. In Fatima, the difference is quality.
Yes, in Fatima, the difference is quality.
Quality of tobaccos. The finest domestic and Turkish varieties, extra mild. Superbly blended to give you Fatima's much different, much better flavor and aroma.
Quality of manufacture. Smooth, round, perfect Fatima cigarettes. Rolled in the finest paper money can buy. Manufactured in the newest and most modern of all cigarette factories.
Quality. Even to the appearance of the bright, clean, golden yellow Fatima package.
So compare Fatima yourself today.
You'll find Fatima gives you all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has.
Yes, light up a Fatima. Your first puff will tell you...
Ah, that's different.
Because in Fatima, the difference is quality.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Wednesday, January 10th. It was cold in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of burglary detail. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Captain Wisdom. My name's Friday. It was 11:15 a.m. when we got back to the city hall. Captain Wisdom's office.
Hi, Skipper.
Hi. How'd you make out?
Not too good. Same old story.
Anybody in the house when the thieves broke in?
Yeah, the children's nurse was there. She said the burglary took place about midnight. She was asleep in bed at the time.
Uh-huh.
The nurse said she woke up when she heard the thieves forcing their way in through a side door. She jumped out of bed, ran for the telephone in the hallway, and they grabbed her before she could reach it.
Do her any harm?
Well, a little, yeah. They tied her up, locked her in a closet.
Same MO as the other job, Skipper. 3 men, each of them wore gloves and a mask. They took all the furs and jewelry they could find, nothing else.
Nurse give you the same general description on the 3 of them?
Yeah, it's not going to help much. Said 2 of the men were tall, medium build, and one was short, heavy build. She was so rattled she couldn't even remember the clothes they had on.
12 jobs with the same gang in 3 months. We don't even have a good description of them. How slow can we move?
Doing everything we can, Skipper.
Excuse me. Burglary, Wisdom? Uh-huh. Not until 2 o'clock? Oh, that's all right. 2 o'clock sharp. Right. Bye. Just had an appointment canceled out. How about a cup of coffee downstairs?
Yeah.
I didn't even have a chance for breakfast this morning.
Fine with me.
You grab my hat, will you?
Yeah, I'll get it. Here you go.
Thanks.
Guess you talked to the owners of the house, huh? The place was broken into last night?
Yeah, we did. Mr. and Miss Peterson. They got home a couple hours after the burglary, took a quick inventory.
What did they find missing?
Furs and jewels, same as the other jobs, almost $12,000 worth. It's the biggest haul yet.
I don't have to spell it out for you. We need a break on this thing. We need it bad.
More pressure from the front office, huh?
It's coming from all sides. The victims are insurance companies and newspapers. They got a right to cry. Those thieves have been grabbing furs and jewels for 3 months.
We're doing everything about it we can do, Skipper. Planning stakeout, working our informants, running down every lead we can get our hands on. Covered every angle I can think of.
They don't worry about the angles we cover. They want results. They want their property back.
Go ahead, Skipper.
Go ahead. Yeah. Now, how about the stuff they took on the job last night? You get it on the stolen property list?
Yeah, it's all listed. That's one thing that really gets me. What are the thieves doing with all that stuff, the furs and the jewelry? We've had every pawn shop in the city on the alert since they started working. Checked on every possible outlet we know of, any place they could use to dump the stuff. They haven't turned up a trace of it.
No results from those APBs you got out?
Well, yeah, a few, but none of them have panned out.
How about trying the cafeteria here? They got pretty good coffee.
Okay.
Good idea.
Why don't you two grab a table? I'll get the coffee.
Right there. Oh, hold the cream on mine, will you?
Right, Skipper.
How's this? Is all right?
Yeah, it's fine. 3 chairs?
Yeah.
Okay. How about it Friday? You or Ben got any ideas at all?
Well, there's one thing we wanted to talk over with you. We were kicking the idea around on the way back into the office.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like a smoke?
Oh, thanks. Mm-hmm.
There you go. Last night we were comparing the different stories we got from the burglary victims.
What? Thank you.
You get a lighter in?
Yeah, it's all right, thanks. Go ahead.
Well, that's one thing that all their stories seem to have in common. Now, that's counting all 12 victims.
Yeah, what's that?
Oh, let's see. I got a piece of paper here. I got it all figured out. Yeah. We know all the victims are fairly wealthy people. They go out quite a bit, parties, nightclubs, things like that.
Yeah. None of them were at home at the time the burglaries were pulled.
That's right, yeah.
Here you go. There's your skipper. No cream,
thanks.
Joe.
Thank you very much. I was just telling the captain about that idea we were talking about on the way back in.
Yeah, well.
All right, so none of the victims were home at the time of the burglary. Where does it go from there?
Well, for one thing, we all pretty much agree that there must be a finger man working with the gang, don't we? Somebody who knows the victims aren't home. Somebody who also knows the victims aren't wearing the furs or jewels on that particular night, is that right?
That's right. We've been going on that assumption. Now, the question is, who's the finger man?
Well, that's what I'm trying to get at here. Ben and I compared the victims' stories. We found out that in every case, each of the victims had been out in some public place from 3 to 5 days before the night of the burglary. Now, at that time, every one of them wore furs and expensive jewelry.
Yeah.
Why don't you read off some of those examples we got there, Joe?
Okay. Well, here's the first one. Mr. and Mrs. Charles King. Now, on December 10th, they went to a nightclub out in Hollywood. Mrs. King wore a fur coat and quite a bit of jewelry. On December 14th, they went out to a theater. They didn't dress up at all. They left the furs and jewels at home. That's the night that their house was burglarized.
And this same pattern shows up in every one of the victims' stories?
No, it's not quite that close, but the same elements seem to be there.
Here's another one, Skipper. Let's see. Mr. and Mrs. Lyons, November 20th, they went to a big party at a restaurant out on Sunset. Woman wore jewelry, expensive fur wrap. A week later, they went to a party at a friend's house. Mrs. Lyons left her furs and jewelry at home, and the same night, the thieves broke in.
Yeah, that's a pretty good angle. How do you tie up all the loose ends?
Well, I see your paper again, Ben. We got it halfway figured right here. Just before each of the victims was taken, they appeared in a public place, wearing the furs and jewelry. We've got a list of all the places, nightclubs, restaurants. There's about 6 of them here.
So the finger man for the gang must be watching these 6 places.
He spots the people with expensive furs and jewelry and tips off the gang. They watch the house. Next time the people go out and the thieves see the woman isn't wearing her furs and things, and they move in.
It's not a sure thing. We're just guessing, you understand? What do you think?
Well, it sounds like a fair guess. Let's move on it.
We'll have to cover each of those nightclubs and the restaurants. It's going to take more men, more time. Could be nothing but a blind alley.
We got the men, we got the time. Let's try it.
10 p.m., Wednesday, January 10th. Our idea for stopping the burglary gang by reaching their spotter or finger man was put into operation. The half-dozen nightclubs and restaurants where we thought the spotter might be checking off richly dressed couples as future burglary victims were placed under strict surveillance. Managers and employees of each of the places were questioned. It went slow. The first week got us 4 leads to check out. They led nowhere. Any and all suspicious-looking persons loitering in or near the clubs and restaurants that we had staked out were questioned and checked out thoroughly. Another week passed, no results. In the meantime, on January 23rd, the burglary gang hit again, this time at a dentist's home in the Hollywood Hills. The maid, a Miss Ilsa Bergstrom, was the only one present at the time of the burglary. Ben and I drove out to interview her.
It was soon before midnight. The Mr. and Mrs. was gone out. They were sitting with the television.
The 3 men broke in the side door. Is that right, Miss Bergstrom?
Yeah, the side door, I think so. They were sitting with the television watching. I hear this sound. I turn around, and the 3 men, they're right there in the room with me. I thought I could scream, but I couldn't.
Well, do you remember what the men looked like, Miss Bergstrom? How they were dressed?
I don't know. I was so much being frightened. One of them had a jacket on, I think. A dark jacket. The others, I don't know.
Anything else about them that you noticed?
Yeah, they had masks all over their faces. I couldn't see. I jumped up. I tried to scream, but I was so much frightened.
What'd they do then, Miss?
Yeah, they put a cloth all around my mouth so I couldn't make noise. Then they tied my hands and my feet, and they put me in the closet out there. Just by the hallway. I was kicking and hitting at them.
Mm-hmm. Had you ever seen any of the men before, Miss Bergstrom?
No, never before.
Do you think you'd know any of the men if you saw them again?
I shouldn't be sure. One of them, maybe I might know him.
Well, how do you mean? Did you get a look at his face?
Yeah, only it was very quick. Then they was putting me in the closet. I was hitting and kicking at them. Mm-hmm. One of the men, I knocked his hat off. It fell on the floor. I pulled at the thing on his face, the mask. Almost it came off.
Well, from what you could see, what did the man look like?
Blonde hair, I can remember. It's not so much on top here. It's only on the sides here.
Mm-hmm.
And there was right there by the forehead, hair, a scar going over that way.
Yeah. Was he a big man, do you know? As big as the other two?
No, he was a smaller man. He was bigger this way, fatter, yeah. He was so mad when I knocked his hat off, I thought maybe he'd kill me. They only put me in the closet, and then they closed the door. I could hear them upstairs going through the Mr. and Mrs. room.
And you're pretty sure of the description you've given us, Miss Burke?
Oh, yeah, the scar, the blonde hair. Not so much on top. I remember that. It was... Well, I was so much frightened, I thought he'd kill me.
Mm-hmm. Now, after they locked you in the closet, they didn't come back? That's the last you saw of them?
Yeah, they didn't come back to me. I could hear them moving around upstairs, and then I could hear them leave after a while. Like all night before the Mr. and Mrs. came home and found me. I was so much frightened. This thing wouldn't happen in Sweden. That's where I come from, Sweden.
Yes, ma'am. You sure there's nothing else about these men that you've noticed? Something we ought to know about?
No, everything I saw just about happened. I told you the way it was. This never would have happened in Sweden. Not like this. These robbers like this.
Burglars, ma'am.
Yeah, these burglars. I thought I'd be dead. Never would happen in Sweden like this.
You mean you don't have burglars in Sweden?
Oh, yeah. We have burglars.
Well, then just how do you mean
Yeah,
that?
we have burglars, but they don't break in the house when somebody's there. They're a little bit gentlemen.
Is that so?
Yeah, they wait till everybody's gone from the house, then they break it. Even burglars should be gentlemen a little bit.
Before we left the house, we checked with the owners, took their crime report and a list of their stolen property, some $6,000 in jewelry and fur coats. The maid's description of one of the three men in the gang wasn't complete, but it was the best that we'd had on him in 3 months. Frank Cunningham in the I Bureau had the description of the scar on the suspect's forehead checked through the oddity file. Meantime, Ben and I paired up the additional facts about the suspect, the scar, the color and condition of his hair, along with his general description, his approximate weight and height. We had the stats office make a run for us on all ex-cons with burglary records who fitted the overall description. They came up with a list of 10 names, and we started checking them out. One of the first listed was a Russell Snow. We checked his last known address, but he'd moved. His mail was being forwarded in care of his brother, George Snow, who managed the Neptune Plunge, a public indoor swimming pool in the East Hollywood neighborhood. We drove out to interview the brother.
Pretty good size for an indoor pool, huh?
Yeah, it is. It's a nice layout they got.
Must be the office straight ahead there. Hey, Joe. Joe, look.
What's that?
That girl over there. Look at that bathing suit she's got on.
Yeah, they keep getting smaller, don't they?
Makes you embarrassed just to look at her. Yeah, maybe I'm just getting old.
Yeah.
Yes, sir? We're looking for George Snow.
Yeah, I'm him.
Police officers, Mr. Snow, like to talk to you a few minutes if we could.
Oh, yeah. Hey, let me grab a towel over there. Get dried off, though.
Sure.
Come on over. Pull up one of these deck chairs here.
All right,
Thank you very much.
Well, what is it, officers? What can I do for you?
You have a brother, isn't that right, sir? A Russell Snow?
Yeah, that's right. Russ is my brother. Anything wrong?
Well, we'd like to locate him if we could. Do you know where we can find him?
No, I don't think I can. Last I heard from Russ was about 6 months ago. Said he was going to take a job in Minneapolis.
Mm-hmm.
Not in trouble again, is he?
Not that we know of. We'd like to locate him, that's all.
I don't think I can help you much. Russ isn't much of a letter writer. Only time I hear from him is when he's in town.
We've checked at the last place your brother was staying. They told us he left word to forward all his mail here to you. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Russ asked me to take care of it. No letters have come through so far, though.
Mm-hmm. Were you to hang on to his mail or send it on to him in Minneapolis?
No, I was going to hang on to him. Russ said he'd pick up his mail next time he was through. As I say, that was 6 months ago. I haven't seen or heard from him since.
Then you wouldn't know if he was actually in Minneapolis or not.
Well, no, I wouldn't. Guess you know my brother Russell had a police record.
Yes, sir, we do.
He had that trouble a couple of years ago, that burglary rap. I think Russ learned his lesson.
Are you your brother's only living relative? I mean, is there anyone else in town who might have heard from him?
I don't know, officer. Excuse me just a minute. All right, kids, no running around the side of the pool, you hear? You slip and break your neck. No more running. Sorry, you gotta watch my talk.
Yes, sir.
Like I was saying, I can't think of anybody who might have heard from Russ. I'm his only relation, but he does have a few friends around town. I mean, legitimate fellas, you know.
Yeah, uh-huh.
They come around once in a while, drop in and say hello.
Have any of them heard from your brother?
They might have, but I didn't ask him. There's old Matt Garson, he's a good friend of my brother's. He was in the other day, but he didn't say anything about hearing from Russ. Might be that he has. Maybe he didn't think to mention it.
Where does this Matt Garson stay, do you know?
I really couldn't tell you, officer. That's a real character, kind of a fluter. Doesn't stay with one job more than 2 months. Like last week when he was in here.
Yes, sir?
He's a real pitchman. Gave me a big sales talk. Biggest bargain on earth.
Said he'd sell me a couple of them real cheap. I didn't have any use for them.
What's that, sir?
Fur coats.
Before we left, George Snow gave us a complete description of Matt Garson, together with the names of 5 of Garson's acquaintances who might know of his whereabouts. When Ben and I got back to the city hall, we checked Garson's name and description through R&I. He had a record of 2 fairly recent arrests, but no convictions. Both arrests were for suspicion of burglary. We checked on Garson's last known residence. He'd moved, no forwarding address. His last place of employment was listed as the Park Tivoli nightclub out on Wilshire Boulevard. The Park Tivoli was one of the 6 places that we'd staked out as a possible working ground for the burglary gang's fingerman, a place where he could spot expensively dressed persons, check on their home addresses, and line them up as future burglary victims. Ben put in a call to the manager of the Park Tivoli to check on Garson's employment.
What was that, sir? Last July. I see. Well, yes, sir, we'll probably be out tonight. Right, thank you. Bye.
What'd you get?
Garson worked out there, all right. Parking lot attendant. He quit last July. If he's the guy checking off the customers' furs and jewels, he's in a perfect spot.
Yeah.
Manager told me that Garson has a girlfriend. She still works at the club. Might be the answer, Joe.
Well, how do you figure?
She runs a hat check stand.
You are in the Communications Division of a Metropolitan Police Department, the teletype room.
.43 LOS 52951, 12:03 p.m. APB, WMA 150, 5'6", dark hair, dark eyes, wearing gray suit, no hat. Suspect is wearing glasses. Heavy build, 22 years. Suspect is armed with blue steel revolver. Any information? Forward.
You have just heard a teletype description of a suspect. This information will apply to many, but careful screening will eliminate all but one.
You'll find the same is true when you examine king-size cigarettes. Yes, careful screening will eliminate all but Fatima.
Compare Fatima. Fatimas are the same length as any other king-size cigarettes, 85 millimeters. Fatima has the same circumference, 1 1/64 inches around.
And Fatima filters the smoke exactly the same long distance as other king-size cigarettes.
But in Fatima, the difference is quality.
Fatima gives you extra mildness, a much different, much better flavor and aroma. You get all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has.
So compare Fatima yourself. Your first puff will tell you...
Ah, that's different.
Yes, in Fatima, the difference is quality. Buy Fatima. Best of all long cigarettes.
One of the biggest problems that faces a police officer working the burglary detail is not only apprehending the thief, but also recovering the stolen property. Dozens of criminals of this type will spend 5, 10, or even 15 years in prison if they know that on their release they will have a stake of thousands of dollars in stolen property which they've hidden somewhere to start over again with. Thursday, January 26th, 5 p.m. We got out a broadcast and an APB on the burglary suspect, Matt Garson. Then we began checking back on his girlfriend, Virginia Ramsey, who worked as a hat check girl at the Park Tivoli nightclub on Wilshire Boulevard. It was one of the 6 probable places where we thought that the fingerman for the burglary gang was lining up potential victims. Despite the fact that she often associated with known criminal suspects, the Ramsey girl had no previous criminal record herself. That night, after she reported in for work at the club, Ben and I checked her apartment. In one of the closets, we found 3 expensive fur coats. They were all identified as property taken in previous burglaries by the gang. In a strong box in the desk, we found a 6 pieces of expensive jewelry, also identified on the stolen property list. Ben and I got in the car and drove to the Park Tivoli nightclub.
Your hat, sir? Check your hat?
Your name Virginia Ramsey?
Yes, that's right.
Police officers, Miss Ramsey. Like to talk to you downtown.
Beg your pardon?
I say we're police officers. Here's our identification. Like to talk to you downtown.
What's it all about? I haven't done anything.
Then there's no reason to worry. We'd just like to ask you a few questions, that's all.
What about?
A man by the name of Matt Garson. I understand you know him quite well.
No, I don't know him. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Want to get your coat, Miss Ramsey? We'll talk it over downtown, huh?
I'm working now.
Listen, I won't be off till 2 o'clock. I can't just walk off the job.
We'll just talk to the manager. He's going to have one of the other girls take your place. Do you want to get your coat, please?
All right. You sure you checked with the manager? I don't want to lose my job leaving like
We
this.
talked to him. It's all right.
This way, please, out the side door.
I'd like to know what this whole thing's all about. I think I have a right to know pulling me off a job like this.
We told you, Miss Ramsey, it's about a friend of yours, Matt Garson. He used to work here at the club, didn't he?
I wouldn't know. A lot of people work here. I don't know them all. Why should you want him anyway?
Do you know him?
I think I might, yes. Not sure. Why do you want him?
For interrogation, just like to ask him a few questions.
Why?
You ready to admit that you know Garson?
I think I might. Yeah, I know him.
Want to get in, Miss Ramsey?
Still don't know what it's all about. Why do you want Matt Garson?
Same reason we want you, suspicion of burglary.
You don't know what you're talking about. You can't prove anything against me.
We already have, miss.
Huh?
We found 3 fur coats in your apartment. There was some jewelry there, too.
Those things are mine, every one of them. They're all mine.
Now, come on, you're wasting time. They're stolen property, you know that.
How about it, miss? You want to tell us about Matt Garson? Where is he?
Told you. Told you the first time.
Yeah?
I don't know him.
10 p.m. We drove the suspect, Virginia Ramsey, downtown to the city hall and took her to the interrogation room. We questioned her continuously until well past midnight. She refused to admit anything. We gave her time to rest a little and sent out for some food. Then we resumed the interrogations. 2 a.m. The Ramsey girl still refused to admit any connection with Matt Garson, his friend Russell Snow, or any members of the burglary gang. We stayed with it. By 4 a.m., we'd halfway convinced her that protecting the members of the gang wasn't the answer, that the best thing for her to do would be to cooperate. 5:30 a.m.
Can I have a cigarette?
Yeah. Here you are.
I'll tell you about it. I know Matt Garson. He's one of the gang.
You know where he is?
No. He got me into it. He made me do it. There wasn't anything else I can do.
What did he make you do?
Well, when I was checking coats and things at the club, I was supposed to watch for customers with money, expensive furs and jewels. I found out who they were, and then I'd tell Matt. He'd tell the others.
Who are the others?
One of them's Johnny Lang. There are a couple of others, but I don't know their names. Believe me, Sergeant, Matt made me do it. He got me into it before I knew what it was all about. When I found out, he threatened to frame me if I didn't go along with him.
Do you know where any of these men live, where they hang out?
No. None of them, not even Matt. Ever since he moved, he wouldn't give me his new address.
Do you think Garson will try to contact you at your apartment in the next few days, maybe?
No, I don't think so. Not until after the next job. They're waiting on it now. They've been watching the house.
Which house is that?
Place out in West Hollywood. Wealthy people. They were in the club about a week ago.
And the gang's waiting for them to go out some night and leave their valuables at home, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Matt says it's an easy house to break into. He thinks it ought to be a cinch.
Matt ought to know better.
Huh?
It's the easy ones you trip over. Before we booked her in on suspicion of burglary, Virginia Ramsey gave us the name and address of the people in West Hollywood who were supposedly the next victims on the burglary gang's list. Later in the morning, we drove out to see the people. A Mr. and Mrs. Thomas Thornton told them the story and laid out our plans, which they agreed to. That night, the Thorntons left their home a few minutes before 9. They were simply dressed, no furs, no jewels. At 9:35, 3 men scaled a fence at the rear of the Thorntons' home and broke in through a side door. Right behind them was a detail of a half a dozen officers who moved in and made the arrest. The 3 suspects were taken downtown, where they were identified as Russell Snow, Matt Garson, and Howard Ferris. We searched their apartments, their cars, and garages. There was no trace of the stolen property. Each of the men were brought to the interrogation room separately for questioning. Matt Garson was the first. He denied any knowledge of where the loot was hidden.
That's the truth. I don't know where the stuff is. I work for the outfit, that's all.
You've been working for 3 months without a payoff. Is that what you're trying to tell us?
Well, we haven't been turning over everything we got. We've been holding out half the stuff, selling it on the side. I just work for the outfit, that's all.
That's not the way we get it, Garson. You're supposed to be the big man. You masterminded the deal.
Me? Who told you that?
Your girlfriend, Virginia Ramsey. We picked her up yesterday. She told us everything.
What'd she tell you?
You're the big man. It was your idea. You ran the works.
What about it, Gordon? Big joke, Sergeant, on both of us. What do you mean? You can ask the other boys. They'll tell you the same thing. We can prove it, too. There's only one boss in this operation.
Yeah?
Virginia Ramsey.
For a 23-year-old girl, it seemed like a new record of some kind, if it was true. We checked the other suspects, Russell Snow and Howard Ferris. They told us substantially the same story. The Ramsey girl had formulated all the plans and directed the entire operation of the gang since its inception. They insisted that they had no idea where the stolen property was hidden, but they did know that the Ramsey girl had a safety deposit box in a downtown bank. We made a canvass of banks in the downtown area, and a day later we located the safety deposit box listed in Miss Ramsey's name. We obtained a court order, and the box was opened. In it, we found practically all of the stolen jewelry, almost $50,000 worth. Ben and I went back to the main jail where we had Virginia Ramsey signed out for investigation. We brought her to the interrogation room where we confronted her with the evidence.
I didn't think you'd find out. I didn't think you'd ever find out.
How about the furs, Miss Ramsey?
I got the key. You can have it. I rented a private garage. I got them stored in there.
All of them?
Just about, yeah. You picked up the others in my apartment.
How'd you manage to run this whole operation? Those men you had working for you, you cut them in for practically nothing. They were experts, the best in the business.
That's why I hired them. They're the best. It's too bad. Should have worked out. Too bad it didn't go.
You had a pretty fair run.
Wasn't half bad for me, was it? Only 23. First time I ever tried anything like it.
What gave you the idea?
I don't know. I wanted things. Pretty smart setup, though, don't you think, Sarge?
How's that?
Wouldn't you say I played the whole thing pretty smart?
Oh, I don't know. You figure it.
What?
You're in jail, aren't you?
The story you have just heard was true. Only the names were changed to protect the innocent. On March 28th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 89, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial. Now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you. Friends, if you smoke a long cigarette, I want you to get acquainted with Fatima's. This weekend, for instance, when you're relaxing and taking it easy, you'll really appreciate Fatima's better flavor and aroma. And I know you'll like Fatima's extra mildness. Make a note tomorrow. Buy Fatima's in the familiar yellow carton.
23-year-old Virginia Ramsey, the leader of the gang, was tried and convicted on 4 counts of first-degree burglary and 4 counts of receiving stolen property. The 3 male members of the gang were convicted of first-degree burglary, also 4 counts. They are now serving their terms in the state penitentiary. First-degree burglary is punishable by imprisonment for not less than 5 years. Receiving stolen property is punishable by imprisonment for not less than 6 months, no more than 5 years. Ladies and gentlemen, vacation time is here again, and a great many of you will be taking trips in your automobile. Danger is never absent from the highways of America. Be careful. The care you take may save a life, and that life may be your own.
You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all long cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Stay tuned for Counter Spy, next over most NBC stations.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all long cigarettes, brings you Dragnet.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to Juvenile Bureau. Dozens of petty theft cases are reported in one of the residential areas in your city. The victims, neighborhood businessmen. The suspects, teenage high school students. Your job? Stop them.
More and more smokers coast to coast are saying this about king-size Fatima every day. They're different. Better.
They are different. So pleasing.
Yes, in Fatima, the difference is quality. You see, Fatima contains the finest domestic and Turkish tobaccos superbly blended. And Fatima is extra mild, with a much different, much better flavor and aroma.
Compare Fatima with any other king-size cigarette.
You'll find Fatima gives you all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has.
Yes, in Fatima, the difference is quality. Next time, buy Fatima. Best of all long cigarettes. Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Tuesday, February 4th. It was cloudy in Los Angeles. We were working the night watch out of Juvenile Bureau, assigned to University Division. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Inspector Bowling. My name's Friday. We were on the way out from the office, and it was 7:13 p.m. when we got to the corner of South Waverly and Chester Avenue. The grocery store.
Guess that's him back there at the meat counter.
Yeah. Come on.
Looks like he's getting ready to close up.
Yeah, I guess we just about made it in time, huh? Excuse me, sir?
Yes, sir. Help you, gentlemen?
We're looking for Henry Loomis.
Yes, sir, that's my name.
Police officers, Mr. Loomis. My name's Friday. I believe I talked to you on the phone.
Oh, yeah.
This is my partner, Sergeant Romero.
Hi, Mr. Loomis. Wonder if you'd mind waiting a half a minute, officers. Just getting a little bookwork straightened out here. Today's receipts.
Yeah, I'll go right in.
Won't take but a minute. Let's see here. 37, 45, 37. There we go. Ain't that lousy bookwork going to get a girl to come in and do it one of these days? Let's go up front here and talk.
All right, sir, fine.
Pull up a couple of stools there. Might as well be comfortable.
Yes, thank you.
You talked to any of the other merchants in the neighborhood yet?
No, sir, not yet. We'd like to find out what you have to tell us first.
Well, it's one of those high school kids, I can tell you that. I'm sure of it. I don't want to sound like an old grouch, but this stealing's got to stop.
You get quite a bit of business from the high school trade, do you?
Afternoon hour, and then just after school lets out. Usually have quite a bunch of them in here around those times.
Mm-hmm. Do you especially cater to the high school crowd? I mean, do you serve lunch here or anything like that?
No, I don't. I usually get the kids to take their lunch. They come in and buy soda water or milk to drink with their sandwiches. They seem like such a nice class of kids. I didn't think they were thieves.
Well, how long has this stealing been going on, Mr. Loomis?
I'd say about 10 days, 2 weeks. It's not very hard for them to get away with it. 15 or 20 kids crowd in here during noon hour. I'm usually busy up at the counter. It's no great trick for any one of them to make off with a couple of dollars worth of merchandise.
You say this happens just about every day?
Every day the kids are in here, yeah. I tried playing detective myself for a while, trying to catch the guilty ones. Didn't do much good.
Mm-hmm. As long as this stealing's been going on, Mr. Loomis, has it ever amounted to more than just a few dollars worth of food every day?
You know, that's a funny part of it, Sergeant. When I check back on my inventories, it's always just about the same amount. A few cans of meat, vegetables, butter, a few loaves of bread. It's not so much the value of the stuff. I just don't like the idea of some kid making a fool out of me day after day.
Has your cash register ever been tampered with, you know? I mean, any money stolen?
No, sir, that's another thing I can't understand. If a kid's going to turn thief, you'd think he'd go after the cash. Whoever's doing it, they've never tried anything like that here.
Well, how about some of the other merchants in the neighborhood, sir? You mentioned on the phone there were a couple of others having the same trouble that you are.
Yes, sir, there's George Bopey. He's the newspaper distributor, and there's Collins. He's got the grocery place up the street. You can talk to them. I gave you their addresses on the phone, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Just one more thing, Mr. Loomis, about this crowd of high school boys that hang around here. Any of them in particular you might suspect?
As a matter of fact, there is. I certainly can't prove anything, but I just have a feeling about it. I don't like the boy.
Just one boy, sir?
Yes, sir. There may be more than one that's guilty, but this young fellow I'm pretty sure of.
What's his name?
I hear the kids call him Harry, red-haired boy, curly red hair, tall, a few freckles. Won't be hard to get his last name if we need it.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything else you can think of that we ought to know?
You go up the street and talk to the other two men, Sergeant, George Brophy and Collins. They might have something more for you. I think I've told you about everything.
All right, Mr. Loomis. I've got your home phone here. If we want to contact you later tonight, I'll call you there. Is that all right?
Perfectly all right.
Here's our card, sir. You can call us at that number there anytime.
All right, thank you. What do you think's behind the whole thing, Sergeant, this cheap stealing, nickel and dime stuff?
I don't know, sir. We'll try and find out for you.
Just doesn't make sense stealing like that day after day. You'd think even the kids know that you can't go on stealing forever.
Yes, sir. A lot of them give it a try. From the very start, the whole pattern of the case and the thief's method of operation made little or no sense at all. The thefts had been going on for more than 2 weeks, and they'd all taken place in a 12-square block area. In each of the 24 cases reported to us, not one of the thefts had been for more than $5, either in cash or merchandise. The thief's scene of operation included 2 grocery stores, a drugstore, coin boxes attached to the newsstands in the neighborhood, and a 5 and 10 cent variety store. With one exception, all of the cases involved theft of merchandise only. The breaking open of coin boxes attached to newsstands was the single instance in which money was taken. The total sum was less than $3.50. 7:40 p.m. Ben and I left the grocery store and went up the street to the home of George Brophy. He was the neighborhood newspaper distributor who operated the coin box newsstands which had been broken into.
Well, I think you can just about count on it, Sergeant. It's one of the kids in the neighborhood doing all this. Either that or a couple of them are working together.
What makes you so sure about it, Mr. Brophy?
Well, for one thing, we got more than our share of kids out this way. A lot of them are from poor families, underprivileged, you might say.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they figure it's one way of picking up extra spending money. I got nothing against the kids myself. A few nickels they get out of those boxes, I wouldn't prosecute them for that.
Well, sir, that's not exactly it. The point is they're stealing. If they get away with this small-time stuff, they might figure they're ripe for something bigger. Probably be the best thing in the world for them if we can stop them now and set them on the right track, don't you think?
Yeah. Put in with you there, Sergeant. I don't know how much I can help you, though.
Did you have any idea at all who it might be that's breaking into the coin boxes?
Well, like I say, I have nothing against any kid myself, but there is one of them around the neighborhood I've been a little suspicious about, a red-headed kid.
What's he look like, you know?
Red hair, freckle face, kind of tall and gangly. Typical high school kid. Old Loomis down at the grocery store, he's been a little leery about the same kid, too.
Well, why do you single out this red-haired boy, Mr. Brophy?
Well, he... Oh, excuse me, I better grab
right
it.
ahead.
Yes. Hello. Oh, yeah, Maggie, hi. 4 of them. When are they born? Is that right? All right. Born this morning. 4 of them, huh? Yeah, just a minute, I'll call. Grace.
Yeah, honey.
It's for you, Maggie Harris.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Excuse me, officer. A friend of my wife's, her cat just had 4 kittens.
Oh, I see.
Oh, where were we? Oh, yeah, about the kid.
Yes, sir. Why do you suspect
Well, there's a couple reasons, Sergeant. Late one night when I was making my collections, I spotted the boy hanging around one of the newsstands. Didn't look like he had any business there that time of night. He looked up and saw me coming. He turned and ducked down a side street.
Well, do you have any idea where this boy lives, Mr. Brophy?
No, can't say I do. He goes to that high school a few blocks up on South Waverly. I know that. It's the same boy that the grocerman had his eye on.
You said there were a couple of reasons why you were suspicious of this boy, Mr. Brophy.
Yeah, well, this other thing doesn't mean too much. There wasn't anything really wrong with it. It just seemed a little queer, that's all.
What was that?
Well, I dropped in at the safety liquor store down the street last week. I wanted to pick up a little something. I saw the same kid in there. He was asking Benny, the guy who runs the place, if he'd sell him a 5th of bourbon. I heard the kid saying it was supposed to be for his father. His father was sick and couldn't come in. Of course, Benny turned him down. He wouldn't sell it to the kid.
And that was the extent of it, huh?
Yeah, that's all. Wasn't anything wrong with it. Kid didn't insist. But I thought it was just a little out of line, sending a kid after liquor. Well, it's about the size of it.
How about some of the other merchants in the neighborhood who have been bothered with these petty thefts? Do you know if any of them are suspicious of this boy?
No, I wouldn't know that. Henry Loomis down at the store is about the only one I know.
Well, thanks very much, Mr. Brophy. If anything else comes up, you can get us at the number on this card here.
Oh, okay, son. Fine. If I can help at all to clear this thing up, I'd be glad to do it.
Well, we'll probably be checking back with you, and thanks again, sir.
Sure is funny, the whole thing. I get a big laugh out of it.
Sir?
Oh, I mean the friend of my wife's called up, Maggie Harris. Cat had 4 kittens, like I told you.
Uh-huh.
Sure get a big laugh out of that. I kept telling her. She wouldn't believe me.
What's that, say?
Well, she thought the cat was a male.
The next morning, Ben and I continued checking with various merchants and residents in the neighborhood where the series of petty thefts were taking place. We located and questioned one more shopkeeper who was suspicious of the tall, red-haired boy known as Harry. That afternoon, we went to the high school on South Waverly Avenue to check on him. From his first name and his description, he was identified by the boy's vice principal as Harry Thomas Dunbar. He was 18 years old and a sophomore with an average scholastic record. We were told that Dunbar had left the grounds about half an hour before with the high school's basketball team. The group was headed for one of the local sports pavilions where the team had one of its more important games scheduled for that afternoon. Harry Dunbar was in charge of selling the printed programs for the game. Ben and I drove out to the sports pavilion and checked with one of the boys collecting tickets at the door. He told us we'd find Harry Dunbar inside at the program stand.
These high school kids sure take their basketball seriously, don't they?
Yeah, big turnout, sounds like. We're going to be lucky if we can find that boy in this crowd.
Yeah.
You see him anywhere?
No. Which side is the program stand supposed to be on?
Well, there's a lot of them along and through here on both sides. Guess we better start checking them out.
Yeah. Joe.
Yeah.
That stand back down on the left, you see? Red-headed kid?
Yeah. Let's check him, huh?
Okay. Programs, dime. Complete programs for the game, 10 cents.
Excuse me, son.
Program, mister?
Your name Harry Dunbar?
Yeah, that's right.
We're police officers, Harry. We'd like to talk to you for a few minutes, if it's all right.
Oh, I can't talk to you now. I'm pretty busy selling these programs here. And suppose we wait a few minutes, son. See, you only have a few left there to sell. No, it wouldn't do any good waiting. When I sell these, I got something else to do.
It's only going to take a few minutes of your time, Harry. We won't keep you long.
What is it, officer? What do you want to talk to me about?
Just have a few questions for you, son, that's all. Can you step out in the lobby with us for just a minute?
What's it all about? I'd like to know.
We'd just as soon not talk about it out here.
Oh, all right. We can go up this ramp here.
All right.
There's a hallway back here. Ones underneath the stands won't be so noisy.
Fine, we won't keep you long. Just a few routine questions.
This ought to do okay. What is it you want to know about?
Do you know a Mr. Loomis? Harry runs a grocery store near the high school.
Yeah, old man Loomis. I go down to his store and eat lunch sometimes. Why?
How about a Mr. Collins? He runs another store near the high school.
Yeah, I know the place. Sometimes I go there, too. A bunch of the kids hang around there during lunchtime.
We've had quite a few complaints from Collins and Loomis, some of the other stores in the neighborhood, too. We're checking on some of them. Thought maybe you could help us out, Harry.
No, I couldn't help you any. Mr. Collins and that old man Loomis, they don't like us. They want to get us in trouble. I think they're lying.
Lying about what?
About us kids stealing things out of their stores. I bet they even told you I'm stealing things from them.
Are you, Harry?
Of course not. They can't say any of us stole things. They don't know. They can't prove anything.
Do you know the man that distributes newspapers in your neighborhood, son of Mr. Brophy?
Who?
Mr. Brophy. Some of the coin boxes on his newsstands have been broken into. He thought maybe you could tell us something about that.
Why me? I don't know any Mr. Brophy.
Well, he knows you, Harry. He saw you hanging around one of the newsstands one night, and there's something else. He saw you trying to buy a bottle of liquor in the neighborhood. Is that right?
We've had 3 or 4 reports on you, son. What do you say? You want to tell us about it?
They're crazy. I haven't done anything.
Well, then you got nothing to worry about, son.
I won't tell you anything.
Look out, Ben. There, grab it. I got him. All right. Hold it up, son.
Let me go. Let me go.
Take it easy, young fellow.
I haven't done anything. I haven't. Now, let me go, please. I haven't done anything.
Why'd you try to run away?
I have to get home. I got to get home right away.
All right, son. We'll take you there.
No, you can't go with me. I have to go alone.
Afraid we're going to have to hold on to you, Harry. Either we take you home or we take you downtown. Which is it?
I tried to tell him I couldn't do everything. I tried, but it didn't work out. I can't do everything.
What do you mean, son?
Take me home. I'll let them tell you.
You are in the forgery division of the Metropolitan Police Department. Handwriting analysis.
All right. Now write the alphabet in lowercase, please.
You are listening to a police officer taking a sample of a suspect's handwriting.
This handwriting sample will be compared with a forged signature. Side by side, two signatures may often look alike, but closer examination will prove a world of difference. You'll find the same is true when you compare Fatima with any other king-size cigarette.
Side by side, Fatimas are the same in length and circumference. 85 millimeters long, 1 1/64 inches around.
And Fatima filters the smoke exactly the same long distance as any other king-size cigarette.
But in Fatima, the difference is quality. Fatima gives you extra mildness, a much different, much better flavor and aroma. Remember, Fatima has all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has. So insist on the best. Next time, buy king-size Fatima.
Wednesday, February 5th, 4:15 p.m. We left the sports pavilion, got in the car, and started to drive our teenage suspect, Harry Dunbar, to his home. On the way, we questioned him about the series of petty thefts which had been going on in his neighborhood. We asked him about stealing merchandise from the grocery store run by Mr. Loomis. He admitted he was responsible. He said he'd been stealing things from the store for more than a month. We asked the boy about the petty thefts from the grocery store operated by Mr. Collins. Again, he told us he was responsible. He also admitted stealing from the neighborhood drugstore and the variety store, in addition to breaking into the coin boxes on the self-service newsstands. In each instance, he described his method of operation. He estimated that over a period of some 4.5 weeks, he'd stolen approximately $50 in merchandise and about $5 in cash. We asked him why. He refused to answer.
You must have had a reason for doing all this, Harry. Why don't you tell us? We're going to find out sooner or later.
Sorry, officer. It's next turn to your left.
Okay.
What's the matter, son? You afraid of what your folks are going to say?
No, that's not it. I never stole anything in my life till this time. When I started in, I didn't think of it as stealing. Something I had to do, that's all. I couldn't help it.
That doesn't make much sense, Harry. What do you mean you couldn't help it?
It's the truth. You gotta believe me, there wasn't anything else I could do.
Well, what was it then? Was somebody forcing you to steal?
No. Can't you just believe me? It's something I had to do. Sergeant, can't you let me off here? I'll walk home the rest of the way. I promise you I'll come in and see you tomorrow.
Well, you know we couldn't do that, son. You've already admitted stealing from a half a dozen stores in the neighborhood, breaking into those coin boxes. It's going to have to be straightened out one way or the other.
But I can pay him back for what I took. I got a job. I'll pay back every one of them.
I believe you, son, but there's still a lot of explaining that's going to have to be done.
This is the 1500 block, Harry. Want to point out your house for us? Son?
Can't we fix it up some other way? We don't have to go to my house, do we?
The sooner you face it, the better. Now, how about it?
Keep on going. It's way down the end of the block there.
Well, now, which is it, son? There's no houses beyond this. It's just that shack down there.
That's my house.
Okay, Harry.
Maybe I better go in first, see if everything's all right.
It'll be all right. We'll come with you. Ben and I followed the boy up the stairs and into the house. From the outside, it looked run down and badly in need of painting. On the inside, it still looked in fair condition, except for the housekeeping. The floor of the living room was littered with soiled clothing, cigarette ashes, dirt, and dust. The few pieces of furniture didn't look much better. A card table set in one corner was crowded with dirty dishes and scraps of half-eaten food. Across the room was a baby in a crib. Couldn't have been more than a few months old. Apparently, the bedclothes in the crib hadn't been changed for days. Next to the crib, huddled in an army cot, underneath a few thin blankets, was a dark-haired little girl, maybe 2.5 years old. Her face was thin and pale. She was asleep. Through an open door, we could see into the next room where a woman was lying on a couch. There was an empty glass and a newly opened bottle of whiskey on the nightstand.
Should have let me come in first, officers. Would have had a chance to clean up a little. Kids mess up the house.
Harry, is that you, Harry?
That's my mother. Resting a little, I guess. This is the baby in the crib. His name's Jerry. Well, that's my little sister on the cot there. Her name's Annie.
Get your mother out here, will you, son? We want to talk to her.
Don't get mad at her, huh, will you? Ma's had a tough time lately. She tries to do her best.
What's the matter with the kids here, son? Have they been sick?
Yeah, the baby had a cold, but I got that medicine there from the drugstore. He seems to be okay. I'm not so sure about Annie, though. She had a bad cold. Doesn't seem to be getting over it.
You want to take a look, man?
Yeah.
Get your mother up, son.
Yeah. All right. Hey, Ma. Ma, get up, will you?
What is it? Who'd you bring home with you?
A couple of policemen. They won't talk to you.
What'd you bring them in for? Close the door there. I have to fix up a little.
Our mother will be right out, officer.
All right, son.
And Joe?
Yeah.
We better get to a phone right away. It looks pretty bad.
What is it?
Baby needs a doctor. A little girl here. I hope she does, too.
What?
I'm not sure she's alive.
An ambulance was called immediately, and Harry Dunbar's 2-year-old sister Annie and his baby brother were both rushed to the general hospital. The mother, identified as Mrs. Florence Dunbar, was taken downtown and booked at the main jail on a drunk charge. 6:45 p.m. We took the boy, Harry Dunbar, over to Ben's house. We put in a call to the general hospital to check on his little sister Annie and his infant brother. They told us both the children were suffering from malnutrition. The little girl, Annie, had double pneumonia. Miraculously, the baby seemed to have been spared. He was sick, but his condition wasn't considered serious. After Ben's wife fed him dinner, 18-year-old Harry Dunbar sat down and told us the story. 3 months before, his father had deserted the family. His mother had made a pretense at supporting Harry and the 2 babies and then gave it up in favor of drinking. The whole burden of keeping the family alive was piled on the youngster's shoulders. Besides school, he had 3 odd jobs that he worked at to earn enough money to pay the rent, the gas and light bill, food, and general necessities. It wasn't enough, so he had to take to stealing. His mother wouldn't work, but at the same time, she wouldn't let the boy apply for charity. He slept at Ben's house that night, and the next morning at Juvenile Bureau, he gave us the rest of the story.
I guess it got too much for me. I don't know. I could sneak the food and medicine from the stores, all right, but couldn't seem to get enough money together. The rent bill and all that. Kids needed clothes, too.
Well, why wouldn't your mother let you apply for help, son? Some of the local charities.
Well, Ma'd never go for that, officer. She'd get mad when I talked about it. Said she had too much pride to take charity.
Mm-hmm. Did your mother know that you were stealing the food and medicine that you used to bring home?
I don't know. Guess so. Wouldn't be so mad at her, but every time I got some money together to pay bills, she wanted me to buy whiskey for her. She begged so much I couldn't say no.
We're having your mother brought over from the main jail, Harry. We'd like to find out if we can't locate your father. You want to check outside, Ben, see if they brought Miss Dunbar over yet?
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
How about the kids, Officer? Annie and the baby? How they doing?
Well, I checked the hospital, Harry. The doctor's going to call us as soon as he can.
I should have known better. Poor little kids. I could take care of myself, but they had to depend on her. She'd only stopped drinking.
You go right in, Mrs. Dunbar.
Harry, you all right, son? What have they been doing to you?
I'm all right, Mom. No, don't hang on me like that.
I was worried about you, Harry, you and the kids. I'm sorry they got sick. I didn't know. It's just bad luck, Harry. We got to stick together, you and me.
There's a chair here, Mom. Sit down.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah?
Hospital call. They took the message outside. Here you are.
Well, thank you.
The hospital, officer? About Annie and the baby?
Yeah, that's right, son. About your little sister Annie.
What about her? What'd the doctor say?
Well, it's not good, Harry. The doctor called and said Annie had pneumonia.
Pneumonia.
She'll be all right, though, huh? To take care of her?
Well, it's not that way, son. I mean, the doctor said... Oh, look, you tell him what you do.
Well, what is it? What about Annie?
We got a right to know. She's my little girl.
Sergeant, you can tell me.
You want to sit down, Harry?
Yes, sir?
Annie died 10 minutes ago. The doctors tried. They couldn't help.
Annie dead?
That's right, son.
Mm-hmm. She's only a little kid. She's only 2 years old. Harry. Harry, son. Poor little Annie. Why did it have to be her, my own little girl? My own little Annie. Be good to me, son. I don't know how I can stand it. My own little girl, Annie.
Go outside, Ma. Go outside.
No, Harry. I need you. I need you more than ever, son. Be good to me. We have to stick together now. We gotta love one another.
All right, Miss Dunbar.
No. I need Harry. He's all I got. Aren't you, son? It's so hard sometimes. Everything's against us. Lord only knows I've tried. We've got to try to be happy, to stay together, love one another. Lord only knows.
Will you shut up, Ma?
Harry, don't blame me, son. We've got to try to be happy.
I blame you. Anybody blame you. You killed her. Poor little kid. You killed Annie.
Harry, don't say it. Don't say it.
I will say it, Ma. You did it. The whole terrible thing. Annie's dead. You did it. Don't you know what it means?
Don't, son. Don't hurt me.
All right, Harry. Now take it easy.
You know it, too, don't you? She did it. Her and her whiskey and her drinking and laying around, not even caring about the kids. I tried to tell you, Ma. It's the least you could have done. Take care of the kids. See they're all right. You had to drink. You wouldn't work. You had to lay around. Don't you understand? I couldn't do it all. I tried. I couldn't do it all. You had to go on drinking and lay there and let watch Annie die.
Please, son, don't say that. We're going to love each other. I wouldn't hurt Annie. You know your mother never do that.
You're not my mother. You're not anybody's mother.
You don't know what you're saying. Harry, I'm your mother. Lord knows I've tried to be a good mother. You don't mean what you're saying.
Goodbye, Ma. I hope I never have to see you again.
Harry, please, don't go.
Ben, you better go get her. Yeah.
He wouldn't believe me, Sergeant. Lord knows I've tried. It's not easy, a husband deserting you the way Charlie did. 3 kids on your hands. What can I do?
Yes, ma'am.
Harry ought to understand. I tried. Lord knows it's the best anybody can do. Just try and hope for the best.
Yes, ma'am. I've only got one question.
Yes?
How hard did you try?
The story you have just heard was true. Only the names were changed to protect the innocent.
On April 23rd, trial was held in Municipal Court, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial.
Now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you. Friends, I have here a pack of Fatimas. Inside, of course, 20 king-size Fatima cigarettes. Now, Fatimas are the same length and circumference as other king-size cigarettes, and Fatima filters the smoke the same long distance. But only inside this golden yellow package do you get Fatima quality. That's right. Fatima gives you all the advantages of extra length plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has. Next time, buy Fatima.
18-year-old Harold Dunbar was filed on in juvenile court. After the hearing, the court directed that the 2 Dunbar children be placed in a foster home. Mrs. Dunbar was permanently deprived of the custody of her children.
You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all long cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Stay tuned for Counter Spy, next over NBC.